the lovely Linkette playing, I think it was a song from My Neighbor Totoro. Um, Wait, did you guys say it was on mute? Oh no, I'm sorry about that. Okay, I'll have to fix that audio, but can y'all hear me okay? Still muted? Can everybody hear me? Hello, hello. Okay, you guys can hear me? Okay, great. Okay. Thank you, thank you. Okay. The video just has a really low audio. So I'm gonna try to troubleshoot that next time so we could hear it a little bit better. I apologize about that. It's a really beautiful performance. To start our anime video game session, I wanted to theme it appropriately, but I'll have to share that later. I want to take the time to introduce a really awesome friend of mine who's also from Texas. He is a wonderful person, and I really appreciate his enthusiasm and passion for anime, video game, and all sorts of cinematic music. Um, I can really appreciate that I have only really connected with him recently, but just through connecting with him, I have learned a lot about different ways in which the ocarina has been used in media and in anime and in just different ways. So one of the most important things is ocarina history, and that's related to how the ocarina started, the makers that made our innovations possible for the 12 hole, 10 hole, 6 hole, 8 hole, however many you want to name. But also, the modern history of the ocarina has to do with movie music, media, video games, and anime. And there's a much, much bigger history than just Legend of Zelda and Tapion. So, my friend Brad Shear is going to go over that history with y'all today. I got to preview a little bit of his presentation, and his work is fantastic. So, help me in the chat in welcoming Brad today.
Hello.
Hey, Brad.
Hey, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. All right. So I'm really excited to share this. This has been a fun thing to put together for you guys. We're going to go over a lot of really cool examples of things with ocarina and video games and anime and all sorts of music. I'm going to have a couple links and things for you guys to see in here. And I'll say it again earlier, but to let you guys know, this is all in actually a form of Google presentation that I'm going to try to compile into a downloadable share that you guys can check out at any point. So if you ever want to go back and check the links or see all the things, I'm going to hopefully be able to make sure I can view chat with everything real quick. And chat. Perfect. All right, great. I can see all you guys, and I see the question and answer stuff. Guys, let me know. I'm going to try to get through most of the presentation, and then hopefully we'll have some times for Q&A just for anything you guys want to see. Nicholas, are we cool to get started?
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. So this presentation is the world of ocarina through video games and anime. This is really about taking a step back and looking where music really started in those industries and working its way through to examples of our favorite instrument and how it's involved. All right. So just a little bit about me. If you guys didn't know too much of me, I am a pursuer of the game development career path. I do 3D art and environment creations. When I'm not working on that kind of stuff, I am streaming in my free time. And I also started up my own Ocarina YouTube channel after a couple years. I've been playing for the Ocarina for over 8 years now, maybe 2 to 4, actually more seriously. And I figured, why not share with the world the fun of all our instruments? So we're going to dive into the evolution of music in games. This is going to cover, you know, the basics of where music kind of started with gaming and computers. It's going to be a little more analytical, but I'll try to keep the pace pretty nice and light. So how it all began. Back in 1978, a new affordable method of having music in video games was to use something called digital means. This was essentially a single note that could be played on a chip that could make a sound for someone to hear. Basically, Space Invaders, a very old classic game that was released by Taito, was the first of it to kind of use this method. And with 4 descending chromatic bass notes repeating in a loop, it was dynamic and interactive with players, increasing pacing for enemies descending on the player. So if you guys don't know much about Space Invaders, you were a little ship that was a triangle, and you would sit in the middle of the screen and things would come at you in different ways. So from that, you would really see those things descending and falling and moving, and there would be a sound chip that would play a single note to indicate what's happening, but for someone who's playing a game, you would react to that sound. At the time, this was the most important step to moving forward with it. We're going to move forward into 1980s, a game called Rally X. This is a little racer game. It was the first video game to feature continuous melodic backgrounds, and it was released by Namco in 1980, featuring the simple tunes with repeated consistently during the gameplay. So for the first time, they had enough chips to make a simple track, and that track would be able to repeat in the background while you were playing the game, therefore giving us the first music. So it's a lot cooler when you finally have sound to go along with all the interactions of what the computer's doing. From there, we're going to move on to a classic game called Frogger. If you guys don't know what Frogger is, you're a little frog, you're hopping across the street, you want to get to that pond. Konami's 1981 arcade game Frogger was introduced a dynamic approach to video game music, using at least 11 different gameplay tracks in addition with level starting, game ending, and themes. So it's amazing that they're starting to evolve where it's not just the sounds to bring you in. It's not just the music in the background, but now there's different setups for the music when you start the game, when you play the game, when you lose the game. And all changes according to the player's actions, which means inputs and those original chips are also taking place here. Approaching a little bit further, approaching the game music development in the time period usually involves a simple tone generator and frequent modulation synthesis to simulate instruments for melodies and to use noise channels for those simulating percussion noises. So in simple terms, this is the more advanced version of doing everything that's already been happening. And as you see some of these classic games, Oregon Trail, the original Super Mario Bros. And Ice Climbers, people are starting to take other forms of instruments other than a basic computer note track and put that into the games themselves to create more songs that you guys will recognize, which leads us into the mid to late 1980s. This is where software released for these platforms and had music development by more greater musicians experienced before. So essentially, they're getting real instrumental and percussionary musicians to perform these tracks. And now you're starting to see games like Mega Man 2, Super Mario Bros. 3, Castlevania, and about 100 others also releasing at this time. But all of them are more the classic ones you guys can start to remember, because now we have composers actually generating music with this new technology that is existing and moving forward. By the late 1980s, video game music was being sold as cassette tapes as well in Japan, inspiring American companies to give more serious attention to video game music by 1988. Taking entirely pre-recorded music had many advantages over sequencing sound qualities, and music could be produced freely with any kind of number of instruments, allowing developers to simply record one track to be played during the game. Record the track, hit the button, have it play the thing. Quality was only limited by the effort that was put into the track, and this has become the dominant software use of media, is generating tracks and having those tracks to run along inside the game. Obviously, as time moved forward, we moved on to CDs, and then now even to the modern age, we have digital downloads that work for it. But let's get into some ocarinas in games, because that's what you're all here for, right? You want to see the ocarinas that have been in games. I'm going to give you guys a bunch of examples, and I'm pleasantly surprised to share with you that there is, like he said, more than just Legend of Zelda. Trust me, it's hard to find, actually, if you try to search for ocarina in video games, but I'm here to share pretty much everything I could find with you. So we're going to go through a lot of these, but going from 1991 all the way up to 2007, I have 6 games here for you, and then from 2009 all the way up to 2018 with examples. Some of them are a little similar and smaller. Some of them are a lot more surprisingly drastic, but let's go ahead and dive into all those. So the first two I'm going to talk about is Wonder Boy in Monster World and Harvest Moon Back to Nature. I'm not going to actually play these ones real quick for you, but like I said, you guys can get access to this later and check it out. This entire link, though, that is very specific. This was provided to me by my friend David. He actually made something back in 2011 to cover all of media with the Ocarina's influence, which also helped in the research for this presentation. But inside this one, we do have two examples of Harvest Moon and Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy using the ocarina that he gets to play simple notes to unlock some doors, and Harvest Moon is just a cute little concert. If you notice in the picture in the bottom, there's a guy on the bottom right. He's just jamming. He's having a good time, you know, playing some ocarina. So we're going to move on to Wonder Project JR2. If you've noticed, some of these names are long, and a lot of them have some Japanese in them. That is because Japan's RPGs, or role-playing games, have had a large influence on giving the opportunity for ocarinas to take the forefront of the story. For time's sake, I really want to share with you some of the other examples. So I'm actually going to skip this one because it's a bit of a shorter clip. But again, if you see on the bottom right, there's an opening sequence where our main character actually is playing the ocarina out in a forest. Is my talking getting glitchy?
No, it sounds fine.
Okay, just saw that from chat. So the next one I am going to get to share with you guys, it's called Luna Silver Star Story. It's a little small RPG, again, a JRPG, but in that you find this character's Alex's ocarina, and you can use it to complete a quest. And I'm going to go ahead and get an audio version of you guys for this, but this is going to be the scene pretty much that he is playing the ocarina.
Silly.
So there you go.
Were you whittling away the morning at Dine's monument?
That is the example. They even made a whole cutscene for it, which is really cool. So you get to hear the ocarina. Some of the examples will be surprising to you of how the ocarina actually sounds in their medium. But that is Luna's Silver Star Story. The next one I have for you guys is Evolution World. This is a early modern age. This is the GameCube, Xbox, PlayStation 2, I believe's era. But in this one, we have a girl named Linnea, who is one of the support characters for our main character in this game, and she actually plays the ocarina. This is one of my favorite examples because they praise the ocarina so much in this one. If you want to go ahead, I'm going to run this top link real quick here.
So I think your screen stopped sharing for a second. Is that okay?
Does it pop back afterwards? Because if it,
I don't think so.
Okay, well, let me re-share screen.
Presentation, since I have it pulled up anyway, and you could just talk through it, and I'll just move slide to slide if you want.
We can do that. That works, as long as everyone can see what's going on.
Okay. All right, here we go then. Here is Evolution World, Ocarina Girl, Linear.
That must be Linear playing her ocarina. Ah, I never get tired of hearing that sound.
Yes, it has a soothing effect on the listener's mind. It's the timbre. By the way, do you remember when Linear first came to us?
Yeah, that was a rough time. She said nothing about my father's letter, and she was so tense all the time.
Yes, but when you played the ocarina, she somehow calmed down.
After that, she practiced the ocarina every day. It didn't take her long to get better than me. That Linear.
Thanks. Yeah. And then you'll notice even from the other links, she has 2 songs she performs in them. And both those will be available for you guys to check out with it. But it's cool. She's got a nice tone to her, what she's played. And it's cool that if you saw that Butler guy, he was like, this majestic, incredible instrument. And it is. It always is. We all know it is. But it's cool for someone else to say it because it brings a little bit of joy. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one.
Pronouncing the name right too. They were like,
and they pronounced it right, right? Isn't that amazing?
That was amazing.
Yeah, we can go. Yeah, we can go ahead and play it. The first song is the same song I believe that just played. Yep. So this is just the song itself in its track. Very cool. Yeah.
My bad. Okay.
No, you're good. Yeah, funny enough, I think the ocarina does have more polygons than the character does. But let's go ahead and move on to my next example for you. Oh, the other song. Oh, yeah, okay.
Sorry, which one were you wanting to play?
No, we can go ahead and share the last song too. I'm sure everyone wants to hear it. Yeah, so that is all from Evolution Worlds. Really cool, crazy little game that was out. The next one I have for you, though, is called Star Ocean's First Departure. It was a PlayStation game. And we don't have to go through the link for this one because it's about 4 seconds of him playing the ocarina. The story behind this one's pretty wild, though. As you see, this level 35 character found the ocarina that was picked up by this character that dropped it. And it's a classic JRPG, so the whole point of it is to gather a bunch of companions to help you progress the story and complete missions and tasks. And in this one, he kind of tricks her into becoming part of it because when he plays the ocarina, it summons her, and then they're like, "Hey, you need to come help us fight this thing." And she's like, I didn't sign up for this, but you played my ocarina, so I guess that's okay." Let's go ahead and jump to the next slide. This is a fun one. So Professor Layton. Professor Layton is a little story game that was out on the DS. You can go ahead and click to link this one so everyone can hear it. You have this small character that plays out her ocarina to solve a situation.
Ariana, the flute.
Oh, it's not working! Stop that right now! Lucia, if you break that gate, the entire town will be flooded!
I think I don't know if she plays
stop
it again.
doing that,
She can probably
Lucia!
cut it. But yeah, they will try to calm her down because they've used the ocarina previously in the story to soothe the beast, and I think even later on they do it again. But Professor Layton, crazy little story game. The next one's going to be really fun for you guys. This was a very good surprise. If you guys have ever heard of the game Cooking Mama, there's actually another series with it called Crafting Mama, where you make a bunch of things from scratch. And one of them you can actually make is an ocarina from scratch. You go through the entire clay process to like sculpting it, to carving out the holes, to putting it in the kiln and cooking it. It was wild to see that this is here, but it was so exciting. Never knew that there was a game that was so in-depth. And honestly, from the small amounts of ocarina building I've ever seen, yeah, we can play a little bit of it so you guys can see. It's pretty wild. Go ahead and skip in a little bit. I don't know if I timestamped this one right. There we go.
That didn't work well.
So she'll gather the clay and knead it. You know, if you guys never played a Cooking Mama or Crafting Mama game, it's a lot of like directional input stuff because it was built mostly for the DS, so you would use the stylus to do these little tasks. So when you see those arrow directions, that's
All
someone
right. Did we do well?
telling them to
Yes.
move the arrows and things.
Okay. Here now, what are we doing this time?
So essentially, they have a
Making
wooden
mold.
container that they're making the mold out of. So they're just building out the shape and patting down the clay. This looks like she was having a little trouble patting the clay down. But yeah, I'll let we can jump
Not
back
really
to the
sure.
presentation if you want. And again, the link will be out there if you guys want to watch the whole thing. But they will go through. She'll cut it out, and she'll cut it in half, and then take the holes and put the pieces together and then cook it. So it's crazy that there's a game out there that has you making an ocarina. These next ones are a little small. So the Scribblenauts franchise, if you guys don't know what Scribblenauts is, it's a game where you can type anything into making something, and you use it to solve puzzles. As you see right here, our main little character, you made an ocarina in the search bar, and he's got one there. And Scribblenauts also has like an entire Zelda library of stuff too that you can summon like characters and give them the ocarina to do things. And then Dead or Alive is a fighting game that surprisingly, and I do mean very surprisingly, has a drop item for bonus points, and one of them is a ocarina that I found. Yeah, if you see right there, it is an ocarina that drops from one of the characters randomly on an event. And then, yeah, we're going to move forward to Yoko's Island Express. This actually has a song performed by David Eric Ramos. Sorry to mess up the name. Go ahead and run that link. This is a song he recorded for the game. And I checked with him. He was happy to share this on here. Yeah, I think it is the Yoshi Island, or something pretty close to the text. Yeah. And I believe it should be coming up now. David is right. It's 2 songs I think he was in. Awesome. Yeah, so thank you, David, for letting me be able to play this. But yeah, he did 2 songs, I believe, in the soundtrack. And it's a treat to hear not just like examples of the ocarina being in the stories or but also getting at least, 1 or 2 of the pieces inside of inside the medium itself as music. Let's go ahead and get back to the next game. It's a little one. I don't know if you guys have heard of this one. It's called Legend of Zelda, and it left a big impact on the world of Ocarina. Are you all good? So a link to the Past is actually the first example that we ever see, and they just call it a flute. It's the ocarina. It's shaped like the ocarina, but they just call it a flute, and it's the first item that you actually pick up from the game. You can hit next slide. And then we go from there to Link's Awakening in the series, where you can see Link actually playing it, and a bunch of other instruments are popping up to awaken this egg, which I believe, if my memory perceives me from that game, is a boss that you can fight. Let's go ahead and next slide. And then this will bring us all the way up to Ocarina of Time, the most famous game for the ocarina. It has it in the title. It was released on November 21st. It was released again from 1998 and re-released for the 3DS from 2001. And it doesn't say it in here or anywhere else, but there's a collector's master edition that they re-released for the GameCube in 2004. So this game has been released 3 times because of its massive popularity and how much everyone loves it. The fact that it sold 2.5 million in its first year and then now globally set at 7.6 million copies means that at the minimum, there has been 7.6 million people who have been introduced to this instrument singly because of this game, making it the most impactful game to this day for the ocarina. The game itself has 16 tracks in it. 13 of them are songs that you can actually play through the game and has it. And then there's actually the title theme, the market theme, and Kakariko Village that all have it in its soundtrack. I picked one of the classics right there, if you want to pop that link real quick. You guys might know it. It's a small tune. Never heard of it. Yeah, it's a rare one. So.
That's so lovely.
Yeah. It's always great to hear. Lost Woods / Suria's song is maybe one of the most well recognized of the Zelda soundtrack. But yeah, lots of fun with there. So then obviously within the next year, they actually took all of the assets from that game and made an entirely second game. This game, some speculate it was actually supposed to be an expansion on Ocarina of Time, and they didn't have enough time to put all the elements in, so they said, forget it. Within a year, let's just make another game with it. And that's how you got Majora's Mask. And this added a couple more songs to the soundtrack into the franchise. Link also did use his ocarina here, but also with this game having him transform into different creatures, each one of those creatures has an instrument, including guitar, drums, and I believe it's the French horn. But there is one song specifically in this link. Yeah, you can go ahead and click it. That was the additional song for Majora's Mask. Awesome. Yep. So that is everything up to the date for video games. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any examples past most of these, but that is everything up until 2018 that I have found Ocarina as being an example. And I would say it's pretty pleasantly, joyfully surprising to find like 12 examples. But this panel is not just about games, it is also about anime. And I am a pretty big anime fan, so I have dug into my research and all of my roots to find just about every example I can find in anime, and I also found a pleasant amount. So the first one that we're going to go to is Jiji no Kataro. This is an old anime, guys. This anime has had 4 to 5 seasons of rebooting itself out, and in the 3rd and 4th season is the one we're really paying attention to, which focuses on Jiji using his ocarina to banish and summon demon spirits, and then that was all in the 3rd season. So then in the 4th season, he ends up having it as a sword as well, which is what you can see. I found this online somewhere that there's a copy of the toy, and there's also prints for how to play the ocarina as like a little instrument. But yeah, really old show. There's actually even remade a season up to this day. Like there's a new season, I think, in the last year that they put out of this show. So from 1985 up until 2021, this show has been popping in and out. We can go next slide. And of course, My Neighbor Totoro in 1993. This is a Studio Ghibli film that focuses on our cute little friend Totoro playing his nice, I want to say bass ocarina. I would argue it's a bass ocarina with how big Totoro is, but that's open for speculation. You can go next slide. So Yamato Takeru from 1994. This is what people would consider a mech anime, because it has giant fighting robots that are mechanical, and they're out flying in space and shooting lasers and swords. This was like the peak of that type of style for anime to come out. But if you notice in the picture very quickly, that he has an ocarina on his belt, and in the main photos, he's using that ocarina. He uses it to summon his giant robot. He uses it, I think, before the opening, and then in a couple of episodes that it's all there, he plays it. But we can run next slide. So the next one is from a very famous, well-known series, Dragon Ball Z. There's a movie that came out. I think it's the 8th movie. There's like 16 movies, I think, total now. But Wrath of the Dragon from 1995 focuses on this character named Capion, who has a very specific ocarina that he uses to generate ki to defeat his enemies. Ki is their power system that they use a lot. We can play this link if you guys have never heard Tapion. It's a pretty famous example for ocarina, at least in anime. Awesome. Yeah, they kind of loop it out a little bit, but that is his theme that he plays through the show. So then the next one I've got for you guys is a little show called Captain Harlock from 1997. He's a space pirate, and he has a secondary character who is his support. It is Mayu, and Mayu does go around and play her ocarina a lot. You can see from both of the images down below of her playing it and her carrying it around as her necklace piece. We can go ahead and use this link to show you. Awesome. So that was from Captain Harlock. That's Mayu's ocarina. Quite lovely tune from a show. And then now I'm going to jump to another very well-known series, Pokemon, specifically the movie Pokemon 2000. This movie, funny enough, in Japan was released in Pokemon 1999. So some people could almost argue this is the movie Pokemon 1999 versus 2000. But America and most of other countries in the world had it released at 2000. But with it, we have a character named Melody, and she is a spiritual successor of her family line that plays the ocarina every year at a festival to represent the legendary Pokemon Lugia, which plays Lugia's theme, which is a very mostly popular known, but for people who don't watch anime or haven't seen it, this is the song Lugia's theme. Yeah, I was like, we don't want to run too much of it all. But yeah, there's plenty of versions out, but it's been a very influential piece. I think still to this day, Zelda and Pokemon, being both from Nintendo and its audience, getting to share the ocarinas through these have been a nice expansion. The next one is from my personal favorite series of anime, which is Naruto. But if you guys have not watched Naruto, or if you guys have not watched a lot of Naruto, it's in the back half of the first season that there is 2 episodes. I think it's 212 and 213 that this character Menma shows up, and he uses his we'll call it ninja powers. They're called jutsu in the show, but he uses his to create sound waves to do things. And he plays an ocarina. And I actually never caught this the first time, because if you do go back and watch those episodes, or choose to just watch those 2 and listen to it, the music that comes out of the ocarina isn't actually the sounds of an ocarina. They just chose to use the wind sounds from different instruments that they had in the show. So if you didn't know it was an ocarina, it would go kind of right over your head. But for all of us who do know what the ocarina is, it's a pleasant treat in the media to see it pop up, especially in a franchise show that is as big as this. Naruto even has a sequel series called Boruto that's still airing to this day. So from 1995's first manga release all the way till then, it is a huge show. We can go ahead and do next panel. And this is from another famous show called Bleach, starting up in 2004. In the 120th episode, Matsumoto, the lady you see there, goes into a small gift shop. And what does she find but an ocarina? She finds an ocarina and ends up buying it, and ends up playing like a single note. It's a very small example, but it's a very nice treat to see her go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and run the next slide. So Sisu no Garganti from 2013. This anime skipped over me initially, and then I went back to go check it out. Only pleasantly surprised to find out there is an ocarina in this. And as you can see from him, he plays it and uses it almost as his coping set. We can play a little bit of this clip too, if you guys want to hear it. I don't know if we're hearing it. Are you guys? Oh, there it is. Yeah, very, very pretty piece. Very pleasant surprise to pop out from 2013, and a nice little anime that actually sponsored out through Netflix originally as its release. So everyone who had Netflix was able to check that one out. I think it's still on there, but you'll have to double check. If we move on to the next one, we have another big series called Fairy Tail. Specifically, when it rebooted, it's called Fairy Tail 2014. You have this character who uses an ocarina to control her massive monster beast that the main cast is fighting at this point. Funny enough, she's actually plays her ocarina reversed and holds it in a weird, weird way. But nonetheless, it is still her using an ocarina in the moment of the show. So it's a nice little touch. And then this is going to go ahead and be the last example I found for you guys. This is called The Eighth Sun. Are you kidding me? That is the actual full title. It was released in 2020. The character in the scene is actually the main villain, or the last villain. And in the last episode of the whole series, which is only a 13-episode series, you can clearly see he's controlling these demon spirits by playing an ocarina, which turns him into like this stone being, but he's frozen in time playing his ocarina. So we can run just a real quick clip of that, and then I will come to a little wrap up for you.
おそらくあれは偏差の笛だ。一度吹いたら最後、敵を倒すため周囲から怨念を集め続け、やがては自らをアンデッド化し、その力で。
ちょっと待ってください。アンデッド化って。
怨念に触れた者は死に至ります。ですから。
そんな。
どうしてだ。どうして思い通りにならない。どうして皆長男である俺の言うことを聞かない。バカにしやがって。長男である俺をバカに。許さんぞ。許さん。
But yeah, no, a nice modern day example in anime that we have some ocarina popping up. So it's a real treat to see some stuff like that. But I'm going to go into now just the evolution of ocarina into the modern age as we've now hit 2020, now into the real age of 2021. So as you can see from previously, all of the examples, mostly in anime, people are using the ocarina influence as ocarinas to make more types of ocarinas. You have Melody's ocarina in the bottom left that's been one that's made, Tapions, and obviously Legend of Zelda has their replicas for anyone to pick up throughout time. But the real thing is, where do we take this from here? And we need to see how can we all use ocarina in the modern day mediums, such as movies, film, television, and the age of the internet. I didn't even get into all of the examples for film and television as much because this was my focus for games and anime, but there are so many examples there too. And it's great to see, but more encouraging to see maybe that there could be even more as time moves forward. Obviously, we have orchestra involvement and percussion and big ensembles of people who've come together to use the instrument to share. And it's always good to see more of that. But maybe it'd be interesting almost to see a collaboration of modern pop music songs from some of the bigger artists working with people who play these instruments to really just share it more out into the world. More game exposure is never a bad thing, even though we had some really good examples today. I don't think there's ever a bad time where this instrument can be paired with anything else to make an amazing soundtrack or an amazing addition to the story. You know, it's a tool that we all use and play, and it's a tool that we can use to advance stories. So I see no reason why that in games or film couldn't get to use that. But then the last one I actually want to add it in here that is I put streaming. Streaming is a very, very, very new concept that people have been doing. It's where they sit in front of their computer just like this with a bunch of microphones and cameras and setup, and they usually do something like play games or tell, you know, comedy interactions between people or podcast stories. But the interesting thing that a lot of people I don't see taking advantage of too much is streaming music directly, where the performer will sit in the chair and actually play their music and deliver it to the audience digitally in the moment, and then also creating videos from that point. I would love to see, you know, there's a few people like I'm gonna drop David again because I know he does it weekly, but there's people who like David could stream this music content, and it would be really cool, I think, in the modern age to see more streamers come up for ocarinas and for music in general to really share out all the passions and covers and content. So yeah, that is all the information I have for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed all the examples of the ocarina through the time, through how music was developed in games, and more so how we can kind of go from this point on to share the ocarina through the modern day of medium. Yeah.
Sorry, my computer was lagging, so I couldn't unmute myself. Hey, thank you so much, Brad. That was a super thorough presentation. I found myself just eyeing and oohing almost every minute. Oh my gosh. I wish I could have seen some more of the chat because I was sharing my screen the whole time, but I'll read it in a little bit. I'm really thankful to Brad. Brad, I have a question for you. Is it
Yeah, go
okay
ahead.
if I share your YouTube channel with everybody? Is that
Yeah,
cool?
no, please. I'm happy to share it.
I'm going to take a quick break in a minute to try to get the teacher's exhibit ready. But I do want you guys to know Brad's YouTube channel. Oh gosh, let me see. The only way I know how to find you is this way. sign My Hero Academia. Sorry, I forgot the exact channel name, so my apologies. Okay, but this is his channel name, Ocarina Hero. How could I forget that? Ocarina Hero, and my goodness, my channel's not subscribed. My real channel subscribes. This is my backup channel.
I'll take double subscriptions.
Hello.
You know, it's all part of the medium. We all share, we all grow, right?
So this is his channel. Let me show you what it looks like so y'all can find it and see it on your own. So this is Ocarina Hero, and just like he did in his presentation, he's passionate about video games, anime, and a lot of different medias that he enjoys. He makes videos entirely related to some of these things, so they're really, really cool. I hope that y'all get to watch some of them and go subscribe to him. Give him a huge thank you in the comments. I think we have 1 or 2 questions we have time to answer super quickly because I want to end a little early. Let's go through those questions real
Yeah.
quick. In the
Uh,
Q&A, yeah, did you see
yeah,
that?
sorry, I just saw that one. Animal Crossing, New Horizons, and other Animal Crossings, you can get an ocarina. That is, I guess, the 2021 example. What is the current ocarina channel? It's going to be that one. I think that he. Are you dropping the link for it? I can also drop it if
I
you need.
didn't do that.
I'll drop the link for you guys.
Okay. I'll go through and see if there's any other questions that we have. Really enjoyed so much. There was one really interesting video that I got to watch, the one that David had made earlier, that you included in your presentation. So I suggest if anybody wants more like just general media ocarina exposure and what that looks like, you are welcome to watch it. He
Oh,
compiled a
he
really
got it.
cool list to make that. Let me see. Is there any other questions?
Yeah, I saw one from the Q&A. I didn't ignore it. I refuse to pronounce the long O from Jack. Yeah, no, I get it. That's fair. The ocarina
Their
versus the
O.
ocarina.
I personally just say it like that just because in Spanish, I guess Spanish is my first language. So in Spanish, we just say ocarina, just because that's how we say it in Spanish. But I do respect the original Italian pronunciation, and if I ever try to speak Italian, I'll try my best to do that. But yeah, to each their own. I appreciate why people want to pronounce it with a long O as well. That's a question. It came from the video how they were saying ocarina, and I thought that was cool that they were doing that.
Yeah.
That was so much fun. Any other questions that we have for Brad? Super quick. We have time for maybe one more. Interesting. Okay. Well, give Brad a huge virtual applause, please. I hope everybody has had a great time at this panel. We are going to be back in just a minute. In the meantime, I'm going to play. Oh gosh.
And I just want to say thank you to Nicholas and all the other performers and everyone who's at this festival. You guys are doing outstanding. With an extra applause for Nicholas for managing and controlling all of this stuff behind the scenes to make sure this keeps going smoothly.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. It's been a ton of work, but it's been so rewarding and so much fun. I do this because I love hanging out with all my ocarina friends. And I also really have a good time, you know? Like, it's one of those weekends where you get to just, like, take off time off work and spoil yourself, and it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you again, Brad. We'll be back in just a minute. I'm going to play some music, and my screen's going to go away. So we'll be back right at the top of the hour. We'll see you guys in a little bit.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
everybody. It looks like we will be back right now. I'm gonna go ahead and just restructure things just a little bit. Um, how's everybody doing? Type it in the chat. I'm gonna do a quick little intro to this session in a minute. I'm gonna take this opportunity to play a few more tunes from our GOC community playlist. I haven't had an opportunity to fix the sound for Linket's video, but I owe you guys more of Linket's videos. In fact, I may later go to her channel so you could see the video with the appropriate audio. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay? Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Okay. I'll try to make sure that you can hear me. I think there's something happening with my microphone, but I'll make sure that it's a little better. Okay. I'm sorry about that. Okay. I'll be really close to the microphone so everybody could hear me. Okay. So I'm going to play a few tunes from the Global Ocarina Community playlist. Let me see. Here it is. Song by Stefan. He performed it earlier today called Taragua. I really appreciate you submitting this to the playlist. I owe you guys a Linkette video, so I'm going to do that one next time we have a break. Here is me one more time, and I'm stopping my screen share. And sound level okay, right? You guys can hear me. Checking real quick to see if y'all can hear me. Okay, I see some yeses. Okay, perfect. Alrighty. So today is another one of those really special and unique moments. Actually, to be completely truthful, this is the first time we've ever ran one of these events, or this is the first time we've had this panel at a festival. It was brought to my attention by several people because my day job is to teach ocarina. That's what I do. So it was brought to my attention that we need more ocarina teachers. And so, funny thing about people who teach ocarina is often they're not as famous or well known as influencers or makers, because the work that they do, typically they do it to teach others. And so it takes a lot of work to develop the pedagogical skills to be able to be an educator or to be able to teach music, ocarina, woodwinds, or any of the instruments that people teach. So a little bit about me, since this is what I do. I am a music education graduate from the University of Texas at Arlington. And that's what I studied when I was in undergrad. I have been a teacher for about 7 years, full time. And I really loved the year that I decided to introduce ocarina to my students. You'll hear my story a little bit later, but I want to introduce our cast of amazing teachers. Can you hear me a little better now? Hello, everybody. I got that it was still quiet, so I'm trying to see if this is better. Hello? Hello, everyone? Hello? Can you hear me? Okay. I'm going to assume y'all can hear me. All right. All right. So here's what I'm going to introduce. I'm going to introduce our other educators. There's more than these educators that I've invited today. And if you hear any, okay, they say I can hear. Okay, good. there's more than the educators that I've invited out there, but these were the ones that I was able to get in contact with and that had time to appear at today's session. Um, I wanted to give everybody like a really, really good just view and exhibit of what ocarina educators are like, and kind of people ranging from just teaching private lessons to full on classrooms to different types of methodologies. Um, so I'm going to introduce or really talk about each one. My friend Jordan Moore is going to go first. He's on the schedule first. Then after that, um, Christina is going to go right after that. I'm just letting them know this order. They didn't know it beforehand, but now they know. So Jordan, Christina, um, Igor is going to say a few things. Then Deborah is going to also, you can turn on your camera, by the way. Hey, educators. Um, Deborah is also going to say a few things. She's not on the Zoom yet, but she will be in a minute. I'm messaging her. And then I'm going to go last for what I'm going to talk about and what I'm going to do. And the thing is, we started at 2:10, just to introduce the session. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. I think Igor's announcement is only going to take, I don't know, Igor, were you going to take the like a full 20 minutes, or were you going to take just 10 minutes for your announcement? Okay. He's only going to take about 5 to 10 minutes. So it's going to be around 20-ish minutes for each one. And once you hear my camera pop up, that'll be like your cue to kind of wrap up your presentation, because you have like 2 minutes or 5 minutes or something like that. You're welcome to share any methodologies that you have when teaching. You're welcome to share any sort of presentation you've prepared ahead of time. And you're also welcome to share like sound samples from your students. So just giving you that big heads up, and also just giving our educators a big warm welcome. Why is it significant that we have educators in the ocarina community? There's a huge significance to their purpose. Like I stated before, the triangle of influencers, performers, um, and makers and educators is a really important one to delve into. And if we don't have educators, we have no formal organized system to get people to become better or more skilled or more proficient systems. We have to rely on being self-taught and things like that, which there's nothing wrong with being self-taught. I think it's awesome to be self-taught in many ways, but being able to have somebody as a resource to help you get there faster, or to teach you proper technique, proper posture, to teach you advanced techniques, is such a helpful resource. So that's why we're here today, and that's the significance of this panel. I'm going to start with an amazing, amazing educator, Jordan. I'm going to let him introduce himself and let him talk a little bit about what he does. You've already seen him perform at the concert, and I hope you really, really enjoyed that. I know I did. So I'm going to let him talk and introduce himself.
All right. Hi, everyone. Let me know if you can hear me all right. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen as well, actually. I have a couple of talking points, things about philosophies of teaching and also practicing that I wanted to share with you. So, oh, and let me see. Actually, Nicholas, it says screen sharing is disabled, so I don't know if you can fix that. I'm a bit of a Zoom novice still because my school district uses Google Meet, but let me know if you can do that, but it's not urgent right now. So to start off, let me just introduce myself a little bit more as a teacher too. So you've seen me a bit. My name is Jordan Moore, and I make YouTube videos, but I'm also a teacher. In 2019, I graduated from the Eastman School of Music up in Rochester, New York, and I majored in euphonium performance and music education as well. And so what I do now is, well, actually this past school year was my first year as a teacher. I teach middle school band and also general music. It will be band and guitar class next year as well. Things were just a little bit different with virtual teaching and all the instrument situations there, but I won't get into all of that. So that's what I do now. I'm a middle school teacher, and I'm really looking forward to, especially next year, getting to have more of the full band experience that we weren't really able to do in COVID as well. So What I'd like to mention, oh, there was one thing, actually, it's kind of an aside from the panel, but someone asked this question during my live stream and I missed it. So someone was asking me about the tape on my ocarinas, and I have tape on a couple of them, especially the multi-chambered ones. So really quickly, I want to address that question in case that person is here. Oh, and thank you, Stefan. I'll share my screen when I'm ready to do that. So I'll show you a couple of examples. On my Takashi triple, it's the Ozawa fingering for the second chamber. It has tape on the thumb hole of the second chamber because that's what the Ozawa system has. It has a thumb hole here. The reason for that is so that I can play F sharp like this. And hold on, I have sound. So F sharp. So just adjust the intonation a little bit so that the F sharp, it brings it down because I put some tape on here. So that's more of a tuning thing for like a very specific circumstance. And I'm not exactly sure which ocarina they were asking about, which is why I'm showing a couple of them. This is my double soprano G. It has a lot of tape actually covering the tuning holes of the second chamber, and that's because the second chamber was honestly just a little bit not proportionate to the first one. Like you get to the top of the first one and then you go to the second one, and I had to lower my breath pressure, so it might have been just specific to this ocarina, but again, it just adjusts the tuning. The only other thing I've ever done with tape is I cover the thumb hole of the triple harmony ocarina because it's in the third chamber, and I just think it's like kind of uncomfortable with the thumb being here instead of more under the ocarina. So that was just an aside in case whoever asked that question is here, because I wanted to address that. Now back to more what we're talking about with the panel. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. Hoping that should work. So, and hold on again, let me just make sure. Okay, I see the screen. I'm trying to see the chat while I'm sharing my screen, but I'm not entirely sure if that's an option. All right, well.
You can have a pop out for the chat if you want.
Okay. Oh, my apologies. Everything like kind of disappeared except for the videos. I'll kind of come back to that. But oh, I see it. I have two monitors. It was on the other one. All right, so I'll be able to figure that out. So let me start. So here's just a little information about me. But let's go on to the first topic that I wanted to talk about some. So that is the benefits of learning music by ear versus learning from sheet music. And I really want to talk about why I think both are important. So in traditional school settings, it's very common that you join band and you start kind of reading sheet music right away. And you might have your method book, and the first song in the method book might just be like, here's the fingering for C, and then it's just like whole notes. Like you hold C and 1, 2, 3, 4, rest, 2, 3, and you're just holding notes like that. And that's a fine way to learn, especially your first notes. But one of the kind of issues with that is that it's not very musical. You're not really playing music, you're just playing like whole notes. And it also teaches it in a very mathematical way with just like the counting rather than really feeling the beat on your own. And one thing that I learned about in college as a music education major actually was learning by ear, even in a school setting. When I student taught in elementary school, it was a really great teacher. Her name is Eva Reagan, and she's been teaching there for a very long time. She used a method book that has an emphasis on learning by ear. She kind of adjusted it a little bit so that it was more practical for the students. But we started the whole year, actually the whole time I was there, which was 2 months, the students didn't read any music. We did everything by ear. So we would kind of teach the songs by rote. And so like we would play, model it on our instruments, and then the students would learn and we'd help them figure out the notes. But what that does is it helps them learn the music, learn the melodies, and also really feel the music too, without just having to kind of like, play notes and just count mathematically. It's a much more musical way to learn. Also, singing is a very important part of learning by ear. So if you're trying to learn a piece of music, it can be helpful to listen, then sing, and then play as well. So listen, sing, and then play. And that's also a good way to train the ear so that you're building that skill. Now, what about sheet music though? So what's beneficial about sheet music? Well, a lot of things. There's a ton of music that's notated. Obviously, we have to have a way to notate music so that we can play together, we can play other people's music, we can play in ensembles and all of that. Once you get good at reading sheet music, you can learn music really quickly. And you get to a certain point and you can kind of read, especially easier songs, you can kind of, well, you do what's called sight reading, and you can usually sight read pretty well if it's something easy. So it's a really quick and efficient way to do it. There are like session musicians who record for like movies. They just come into the studio and sight read the music. Like at a certain point, it gets to that level. So it's important to have sheet music for things like that. But it's also important not to only rely on the sheet music and not really build the skills with your ear as well. So that's why I wanted to talk a little bit about all of that. And you can kind of see the points on the screen too about why each one is important. They have benefits as well. So now a lot of what I'm going to talk about is about practicing and learning how to practice well, which I actually did a panel on last year too. But a big part of teaching is not just teaching, but also teaching your students how to teach themselves. And that means how to practice and how to think with a mindset where they can be analyzing their playing and making it better on their own as well. So one thing, and a little before I get all into the practice stuff too, is with transcribing and arranging music as a learning tool. And let me just get into this a little bit more before I talk about practicing. So this also goes into training your ear. A skill that I started to do pretty early because I actually like found out about Finale from a friend. It was like, oh, you can write music. I was always really into music as a kid. Like you can write down the music, you can, write music that there is already. So like listening to music and writing it down, that's what transcribing is. So it's kind of like when you're playing a song by ear, you're listening to it and trying to learn how to play it on ocarina, but you're also doing the added step of writing it down and notating it yourself too. That's another great tool because you're training your ear, but you're also training your music literacy by figuring out how to write it down and make sure it sounds just like what you're hearing too. So I would definitely encourage anyone learning about ocarina and music to also try doing a little bit of the writing, especially if you're working on your sheet music skills too, because really diving into it and transcribing or just arranging your own music will help you with all of that as well. At one of the schools I student taught at too, they had the students composing music or arranging music, and then they would play those too, and it's a really beneficial thing. Now, let's do a little exercise for those of you who have ocarinas with you, because I always like to do some transposing or any type of learning by ear. So you can learn something new by ear, or you can play something you already know, but in a different key. So this is Mary Had a Little Lamb. A quick note that a lot of you might be more familiar with it, like with the straight notes there at the beginning. What I was taught in college is that actually the original version had this rhythm that's written here. So it has that rhythm instead because, well, that's what the original, and then they changed it because people might think, oh, a beginner can't really play like a dotted rhythm. They're going to change it to something more like just eighth notes. So some of you, some of you know by the original rhythm. I was definitely taught the other version with the straight notes in school, but yeah, there's definitely some of both of it. So what I want you to do is you can try playing this. If you know this without the music, it actually might even be more beneficial to just do it without the music at all. This is written in the key of C major. It starts on the third note of the scale, so C, D, E, and it has all of that. The activity is to play it in a different key of your choosing. So a good one to start with, if you haven't done this very much, would be D major, because then you just do each note one higher than what's written. Just remember your F sharp will be the first note. Then we have that one sharp there for that. And you try to play it in that key, so just try to figure that out on your own. If you want more of a challenge, you can pick something else like F sharp major or anything else. So pick a key and just take 30 seconds, a minute, just experiment with that because it's a good mental exercise. Oh yeah, it might be a cool thing, especially if you haven't done it much before. It's like figuring out, okay, it starts on the third note of the scale, and then like figuring out all the relationships between the notes. And you can do it with any music you know or music that you're learning too. And it's a good mental exercise. It teaches you the relationship between the notes. If, for example, in the fourth measure, you have more of a leap there. It might be, you might first experiment and you might leap to the wrong note, but you have to figure out which one sounds right. And it's a great way to train your ears there. So I always like to incorporate that into my warm-ups, which is what I'm going to get into now. It's a little bit more like practice routine. Because learning how to practice, again, like I was saying, learning how to practice and do it effectively and teaching people how to teach themselves is a big part of the teaching. So with practicing, I kind of broke it down into different sections. So first, there's warm up, where you're really practicing technique, and I also include the practicing different like ear training things in this as well. If you're transposing, like we just did, learning something by ear that's new, and all that type of stuff. But in addition to that, there are various techniques to practice. I won't get too into that because Stephen and I are doing a panel on technique tomorrow too, and I don't want to take up too much time with that since we'll talk about it tomorrow. But that can be scales. You can practice vibrato too, and we'll talk about how to do that. Tonguing or double tonguing if that's something what you're working on. So any type of technique that's just like fundamental to playing an ocarina, it's kind of doing more targeted practice on that, so that when you need to use that technique in regular music, you've already kind of practiced it some. It's going to make it easier to do. Then there's another part of practice that I like to call more just practicing effectively. So practicing effectively, that's kind of practicing, the music that you're working on, but you want to make sure that you're really targeting the spots that you need to work on. So if there's a song that you're working on and 80% of it pretty well, but there's 20% of it that's not going so well, maybe 4 measures in there that you really need to target, it's making sure that you actually work mostly on those 4 measures and kind of ignore everything else until you get those 4 measures up to speed with everything else. So you're practicing what really needs to be worked on rather than just kind of running through it and not targeting the spots that need more work. So doing that really targeted and efficient practice. So that can take a lot of mental energy. Sometimes it can be frustrating because you might have a couple measures of music that you have to work on for a very long period of time, and you're like trying to get it right, and it takes a long time sometimes depending on how difficult the music is. So that's why I don't think, I know people, especially people who major in music, might practice 5 hours a day and like only practice like that. I personally don't feel like I have the mental energy to do that, which is why I kind of have the other parts of the practice session in there too. You're warming up and practicing the technique. That can be boring too. I'll actually admit, at one point in college, I used to wake up in the morning. I'd do like kind of that warm up and fundamentals practice before class for 30 minutes, but I was never that into it. So once I like kind of memorized some of the warm ups, I would just bring my laptop and like watch anime while I did my warm ups. So that's an option too if it kind of like bores you sometimes. You can technically watch things and still do a little bit of it. I wouldn't really recommend it, but if it's what it takes to get you to practice some of those techniques, then maybe do that, as long as you can still hear yourself enough. Then the last part is just playing music for fun. That's where I think a lot of people can get like burnt out if you're kind of just practicing music to like get better at certain things and practicing what's not going well, doing that really targeted practice. You can get a little bit bogged down, get a little maybe frustrated with yourself. That can definitely happen to us when we're practicing. So doing something like putting on your favorite backtrack and just playing along to it every once in a while can be a good thing too, because it'll remind you, you're doing this for fun. You love music, you love the ocarina, and you won't get too burnt out from just doing the difficult stuff. That's a little bit of like a practice routine overall. Now, last thing I wanted to talk a little bit about was finding music to play for ocarinas. This is something that I just kind of thought of because there's a big topic and I haven't compiled like a list or anything of like music that you can find to play. But just to give a couple of ideas and just thought for those of us who do write music or arrange music and things that could be helpful for any type of ocarina students depending on your level. So there are some method books. There's the one by David, also the one by Chris Gale, and there probably are more. Those are the two I'm most familiar with though, and those are great if you're starting out. They tell you the fingerings. They have kind of simple folk songs that you start with, all the music you're going to start with, and then they kind of progress as they go through too. You can also find music written for other instruments. I wrote especially violin, oboe, flute, and voice because they're all in treble clef. I think voice can be especially good because oftentimes it won't go too high for the ocarina. It might if it's like a soprano part, but sometimes it'll really fit right in the range of a single ocarina, which can be nice. The other ones you might have to take out a multi-chambered ocarina or do some changing of the octaves. You can transcribe your own music, which a lot of us have to do sometimes, or just learn it by ear. And one thing I wanted to do, haven't done yet, is write like an etude book for ocarina, because there are a ton of books, and I know there are some out too, but books where you practice different techniques, and it has like those warm-up things I was talking about, or there are ones that are for like lyrical playing, where it's kind of like a nice song. It's not like super fast and technical, but it's something like a really nice melody that you can play, and you would practice playing lyrically with that type of etude book, and has a bunch of different ones you'd work on. So they have a lot of that. There's like one that pretty much everyone who plays euphonium, which is my instrument, uses. And so something like that for ocarina would be nice too. So these are just ideas of like what music we can find to play and how we can get more of that for those of us who work on things like that. Now, really quickly, I just want to show an example of like the targeted practice on a song. And then I will pass it on to the next person. So one song, and I'm just debating, I'll pull out the sheet music actually, because I have it right here. So give me 1 second to do that. So one song that I played in my performance, I wanted to use it as an example. It was the Bach one, because that's the one that took the most practice. I just wanted to show you a clip of that and how I would practice it efficiently, and how I would also work on it and would want my students to work on it too. So there's the sheet music. And let me just get this shared. So let me know, does that come up as the sheet music now?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Just want to make sure I put it on the right screen. So here it is. And give me a second. I'm just going to change my sound so it's not the soprano ocarina doesn't hurt your ears too much. I might have to switch between a couple mics. But I'm going to show you like one part that took more practice and what I would do to practice it. So let's look at the third system. We're going to start on the second measure. This one has a lot of leaps up to high notes. So, let me just change it to the other mic. I'm just going to play through those couple measures and then I'll talk about it some. So, let me change the sound. So it has all those leaps up to the high notes, and that it was a slower tempo that time, and it went pretty well. But one thing that gave me a lot of trouble was this measure that goes up to the high A with all the shifting there. So what my instinct might be to do is kind of play through the whole section over and over again. But really what I should work on is that jump from the D to the A that was giving me trouble when I was working on that. So I go, bum, I'll just kind of sing it. I don't want to like have the high ocarina right next to the mic, but it was like, da 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 da, dum ba da dum bum, and then it keeps going, dum ba da dum, and the jump to the high A was giving me trouble. So bum 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 bum. I might just even play those two notes a bunch of times. Bum 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 bum, and then you go back a little. Ba da dum, ba da dum. This is the E, and D, then an A. Ba da dum, and then you go back another note until you can kind of really incorporate it more, and you practice that leap that's giving you trouble. And then another part would have been like some of these arpeggios. So any part like that, you want to isolate it even down to just two notes, one leap that's giving you trouble, and then you expand from there once you've got it. So it's just an example of like an efficient way to practice something that's giving you trouble. And that's why I like to show my students how to do a lot too. So that's pretty much all the points that I wanted to talk about. It's just a little overview of like my philosophies, especially about learning by ear and also how to practice effectively. So that's pretty much it. And then I think I'm passing it off to Christina too, and you can find me on my social media and all of these places too. So thank you, and I appreciate all of your attention with this, and I'm looking forward to hear what everyone else has to say too.
Thank you, Jordan. Let's give him a really big applause real quick before he logs off. Jordan, I have a super quick question. Where can we sign up for lessons if we want to learn from you?
Yes. So you can go to my Patreon to sign up for lessons, and I have under the $15 tier, $15 for each cover I release. It's actually called Help Me Help You, because I offer like lessons, but I also offer like I'll transcribe music for people, but that's where the lessons are. But if you don't want to do it through Patreon, you're also welcome to just contact me by email, or like message on really any platform. But I could throw my email into the chat too.
Yeah.
And just so people have that, you can just contact me directly there and we can set things up there too and
Send
just
it
do
to
it that
me
way.
as well so I can post
Okay.
it on GOC right after the panel, and that way people who want to sign up for lessons with you can sign up there. I'll
Okay,
do this
great. Sounds
for
good.
all the teachers as well, if they offer private lessons, because I don't know if everybody does that.
Okay,
All
there we
right,
go.
thank you, Jordan. We're gonna hand it off to Christina. Sorry, we're running 2 minutes behind. We started at 1:11, but it's Christina's turn. I'm gonna introduce her. Christina is awesome. I saw the video on your 3-point grip. There's a lot of really cool and interesting stuff that she is innovating and developing as a teacher. I'm just really proud of her and think she's awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm gonna spotlight her video real quick. So everybody can see her. There she is. Christina is based in Russia. Is it Moscow? Is that correct?
Yes, Moscow, and currently like everywhere, as you can see, like it's kind of like small shelter with knives on the wall. So technically, it's around Moscow.
Okay, okay. Well, this is Christina, Christina Lago, and she's going to be talking to y'all about her teaching methodology. Here she goes.
Thank you, Nicholas, and also thank you, Jordan. It was really interesting to see your attitude to teaching, and I would say, like, I immediately want to agree with you for in like in moments that the first goal of us as teachers, as mentors, it's like to teach person how to learn for themselves, how to teach themselves, um, because it's like ah, words come back to me because sometimes life can change. Like you can't immediately prognose, like say how many lessons this person will have with you, and that's really important to teach them how to teach themselves, so they would be able to go on their own. But I kind of got sorry, water from the beginning. Like who am I and what I do. um, I spent most of my time learning. It was like music, like guitar and piano, and not just music, but also like different hobby, like crafts, handmade, learning languages. I think for right now, I kind of know like two and a half foreign languages. Like I was learning programming, and like I was just generally researching how learning process working. Uh, so I was spending lots of time researching like the process of deliberate learning, and now I kind of put this attitude of deliberate words, deliberate learning into everything, including the ocarina. Uh, can I share screen? Host, please allow me to
Yes, I'm
share the
sorry.
screen.
That's my fault. Let me allow that real quick. Um,
It's scary enough.
sorry, Christina. All right, here you go. You should now have it.
Do I? Yes, I do. Ah, so many panels. Uh, here, you can see the diagram. It's like the thing that I'm the most proud of. I was thinking about the process of learning the ocarina as from the kind of like Lego puzzle thing. Like when you learn how to play the ocarina, you aren't like learning how to play the ocarina, because it's like that's a giant thing. It's like it consists of everything, of learning like the instrument itself, of how control your body, of how the music works. And like if you new to this, if you don't know anything about that yet, it can be really confusing, because like there's so many people, so many pop-ups up saying like play scales, play this, and like you just mostly feel lost just because like so many things that you need to work on. And the attitude of deliberate practice basically just like splitting things down like on these small parts, and this is what allows you to think like not about how to learn how to play the ocarina, but how do I improve my rhythm? How do I improve my posture? Like how do I articulate anything? Like uh, so it just like these small manageable beats that make this thing not so scary. For those who learn how to play music. Stop sharing for now. How do I stop sharing? Please. Ah, found it. uh, and how we start. Sorry, I'm so unorganized. How we start our lessons normally. It's like start if new student, we start with basics. We start with learning how to hold your hands, how to hold the ocarina, how to make sound pronounced, like just how to handle this difficult world, how to set up your practice routine. Yes, like as Jordan said, it's like warm up, it's like serious practice and like necessary fun part, just because without fun, all this just doesn't make any sense. Yes, like you want to improve, you want to progress, but also you want to just enjoy the instrument because ocarina has such an amazing like everything. And during the lesson itself, I want to mostly concentrate on things like what does student need and what does student want to do, because like obviously there can be people who just like came in there crying and want to just be amazing. And like I need like my goal is to like say that to be amazing you need to do this and this. Sorry, breathing. Breathing.
Christina. I
Yes.
wanted to just read a
Sorry.
few questions or a few
Oh,
things that I have
sorry.
here in the chat. No, if it's okay with you. Um,
Mhm.
I have right here. I'm so sorry. I think I want to just really quickly check if it's for you. Yes. I think they were saying, yes, there are so many things to learn and it can be overwhelming. And they were saying they really like this panel, that it gives kind of people a really good idea to like how to get more serious about it. You're doing awesome, by the way, just FYI. I want you to know that
It's the first time with so many people around.
I got you. It's okay. We're all friendly and we all just want you to do really well. So don't worry about being nervous. You're doing awesome. And could you tell us a little bit more about your 3-point grip and kind of like how you like develop a technique for your students?
Sure, I wouldn't say that 3-point grip is my thing. Originally, I learned it from Robert Hickman, and like he's amazing ocarina maker, and like also spent a lot of time thinking about ergonomics and like generally how like body works, how ocarinas works, and things like that. And basically, yes, that's also one of the things that kind of like one the thing that my students go through like in one of the first lessons, just like how to hold the ocarina on the high notes, like so to not drop it and like to feel comfortable about it, how to not like make your fingers tense, not only because like you'll have uh, like your body hurt, but also because like that really slows you down. And uh, normally like through the lesson, like on the later stage on the later stages of learning process, my favorite words is slower, no, and stop here. And just like because quite often students just like trying to rush, like there can be like for lots of reasons. First, because like they can play for scary parts, just like want to avoid them and just like go back to the nice and like calm parts that they know how to handle and like just skip, or like sometimes they just like get in the flow of melody and just like I don't want to stop, I just want to play from the beginning to the end. And like that's the moment that I need to stay to say stop and let's cut it down to smaller chunks, as Jordan said. Yes, you can cut it to 2 notes, to 1 note if it's necessary. And also the important thing that after this cutting down to small parts and practicing them separately, it's important also to know how to include them back, because like uh, quite often I've noticed like this moment, then you like play for the part that you know, then you make stop because like you know that there is going to be like one part that you just practiced like play this, make stop, and like play after that. And like normally to include it back, I just like kind of ask student to ask like uh add to like couple of notes or a couple of bars here and here, and like just slowly like wash away like this difference in between of differently practiced pieces that normally like really helps. uh,
We
I
got a tiny
also
question from Steven if you have a minute.
oh
He said, "What's been your experience with improvement of your student skills? Do you keep training them on a specific subject before they move on to another thing?" And I
n-
think you kind of answered that question when you said your three favorite words were no, stop, and what was the other one? I love that. That was
slower.
good. No, stop, and slower. I love that. So maybe you could talk a little bit more about how you, um, Stefan, I think was asking like how you experience
Usually
with
like
improvements.
the
Yep.
most progress they do in the first lesson, that when like I just like can't stop wondering like how does this happen, just like the first lesson, the first hour, like I think I should record like just like sound samples from the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes of the lesson, just because quite a lot of time people just play the ocarina, like I mean like those who just started and don't really pay attention on the tuner and on how they like articulate the sound, like the first blow. So like just explaining like how to articulate, like to do these two sounds and how to see if you are in tune. It just like that's what really helps, like really bumps up like the result like immediately. And that's what I love the most, like just the first lesson is just like my favorite one. And even after, like if we have difficult moments later in the process of learning, like for example like high notes or like chamber switching for double ocarinas, uh, I usually go through not just through exercises but like through the songs that take these uh, places and like force you to go through them. But at the same time, I don't particularly like to sit on like not I don't like particularly to sit on one song forever, but that can be frustrated for a student. Like, how can I stay here for so long? Like, it's been like 2 months of me playing the same. Like, I feel frustrated because like I'm not worthy. I just can't do it. Like, yes, like that's difficult moment. So like let's speak like let's we did the best what we can on this song, let's move to the next one, but that also has like this difficult moment just like to get through this like some more. So like it's both like maintaining fun and like going for technical parts.
I really like the balance that you have found with that with your students. That's really awesome. I did have a question from Jack too. He also asked something.
Hmm.
He asked, "What type of repertoire do you assign? Like, is there some sort of progression?"
I prefer to not assign things at first. Like I like if if person plays music that they really like, but also that doesn't work with all the students, obviously. Like if it's just like newcomer and they just like have no idea, I want to play no matter what, normally I start with brothers. It's like not just like even Mary Had a Little Lamb, just like these straight brothers from Full Metal Alchemist, and like first because like that's such a nice and beautiful song. Second because it's easy, it's simple, and like yes, like lots of people say that you should learn how to read sheet music through the like just starting like that's C, that's B, like and so on, and just like adding a couple of notes at a time. No, I kind of go like full way ahead. So like that's reference points. It's like low C, it's like in the middle B, and it's high F, and just count from there. Yes, first steps are just like absolute nightmares. It's just like every note goes like C, D, E, that's E. But that really helps to get like reading sheet music really fast later, and that's really helps with transposing, because you can say like, okay, now like just let's call like this note on this line, that's now your C, and like just count notes from here. It's basically just like kind of training them how to read intervals because it's just like everything at once. And also, yes, about reading sheet music, so like I wouldn't say that I hate tabs. Tabs have their use, like especially for those who just want to make first sound out of their ocarina. And like if you immediately start loading that like brief like that to read music like that, it just like head explosion. So like at this point, for absolute beginners, tabs is like they must go. But like as soon as we got like these basics of how to hold, how to blow, I tried to move them to transit them to the reading sheet music, just because it's so much easier, so much more powerful from point of view of holding different ocarinas, of transposing and things like that. uh,
Hey, so Christina, I wanted to open up kind of like for any last minute questions and any last things you wanted to share, and also ask you if people wanted to sign up for private lessons with you, because I know that you offer private lessons virtually.
mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit about how to find your website? I know your YouTube channel is Christina Lago Ocarina now, and
Uh-huh.
your website is Christina with Ocarina. Is that correct?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
and I even have like separate page with just like lessons with me. uh, then you can just sign up for a lesson, like that has all the information. But basically you can just like contact me on Facebook, everywhere. Just no need to be scared of it. And
Okay.
the, the last part that I wanted to say, it's like that's really important to have like the right vibe of the lesson. It's like obviously you can start doing like really technical things, really just be like do this, not this. Like I don't care how I feel, I don't care how you feel. No, I like to make jokes. Like I like making like instead of just sound bending, like do the sound like dying owl sound here. It's like it's immediately like more think that it's easier to remember instead of like third bar like sound bending. No, dying owl there. Yay. Like it's easy to remember. And I for sure I check in what mood, in what feel I go to the lesson. Like if I feel like depressed, sad, and so on, like obviously lesson will be not so good, not as good. I won't give as much as I would want to, as I could. So like before every lesson, coffee. It's kind of like that.
Thank you, Christina. We really appreciate it. If you don't mind, message
Mhm.
me all of your ways to get in contact with you, especially your website. If y'all haven't seen Christina's website, it's a really good resource, especially if you're wanting to like just find a
Uh,
resource to help you with learning ocarina. Please be sure you visit her website. She already kind of dropped it down below on the chat. Thank you, Christina.
yes,
Um,
and
we're gonna move
this
on to
Facebook.
our next person real quickly. Thanks, Christina.
Thank
He's
you.
gonna take just about 5 minutes to do a very short announcement. Please give Christina a virtual applause. Thank you for your presentation. We really appreciate your innovation in teaching, and also continue to appreciate what you provide as your teaching services for the community. You are awesome. Awesome, awesome. And if you have any questions, again, she said that she's always really happy to be reached on Facebook via her website or her email. So be sure you contact her if you're interested in ocarina lessons, especially if you're more in the kind of Europe or Eastern European schedule or time zones. I guess it's nighttime over there. Is that right? Or is it morning time?
It's about 11 p.m. for right now, and like I
Okay.
will listen like Milt's Festival at about 3 a.m. So like, yay!
Okay.
I
Well,
will.
thank you for being here, Christina. Oh my gosh. Okay, we appreciate you so much. Please be sure you contact her. She does have a YouTube channel. Look it up. It's Christina Lago Ocarina, just like her name is spelled right here. Thank you again. I'm gonna go on to Igor, and
You just muted yourself, Nicholas.
let me give you a spotlight, Igor. Here you go. Okay. Sorry about that. I muted myself again. Okay, now I gave Igor a spotlight, and I'm going to introduce him. He's got a really quick announcement, actually. It's not going to take a lot of time, but he wanted to kind of discuss this, and I said to him this morning, it'd be a really great it'd be a really great ocarina. It'd be a really great idea if you set this at the festival teachers exhibit. Let me fix that real quick. Sorry, they told me that you're not on Spotlight. Reclaiming host real quick. There we go. Removing pin. Turning on Spotlight. Sorry, my bad. Okay, Spotlight was still on Christina. All right, here we go. Much better. Okay, now I got it. Okay, this is Igor. He is Ocarina University student in Brazil. He's finishing up his coursework, and he studied with a lot of important and awesome Brazilian professors. So he's going to tell you a little bit about what he's doing with Ocarina workshops.
Right. So thanks again for having me. I'll try to be very quick. So I have my own school here in Brazil. It's an online school. It's in on the anagram EBO, Escola Brasileira de Ocarina. So basically Brazilian Ocarina School. Um, I'm also the founder of the Ocarinas Brasil Facebook group, which is basically Brazilian version of Tan. So just a way for makers and ocarinas and influencers and people who want to aspire to playing the ocarina can just communicate. And I ended up finally giving classes online in groups. So I do both private and um, group sessions. Primarily, my methodology is for group sessions. Um, we ask for $50 a month. Well, at least we're going to open for English classes now, and we're still trying to figure out what the best time to be adequate with the time zones in America and in Europe. So if anyone's interested in if anyone liked the course I gave earlier today and is interested in going a bit more in deep in that, we use David's method book as a primary source, and along the way, I end up teaching right from the get go how to use MuseScore, how to I basically teach people how to read sheet music by transcribing music, not from ear but from actual other sheet music. Um, so you just divide your screen, half is PDF, half is MuseScore, and you just rewrite what's written, and you learn through osmosis on how to this note is over here, this note goes this way, and then we put as in lyrics the name of the notes, and with time people end up learning to I don't want to put the lyrics anymore. I think that's too boring. I already know how to do that. So that's mainly the method where I begin with, and okay. Yeah, so there's the Brazilian Ocarina School, and hopefully, if anyone wants to learn We have basically three denomination of courses. We have beginners class, which is basically David's method book for musical alphabetization and being sufficiently proficient with the ocarina. In the intermediary class, we go to more advanced, how to transpose, how to um, slightly more in depth to music theory, and in the advanced class we go into arranging, composing, extended techniques, and more advanced stuff. So yeah, um, I think that's everything.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Igor. Please leave that information on the chat. And if you don't mind, message it to me on Facebook so that way I can have that and share it at the end of the session for everybody who's interested. Um, I know if you weren't at this morning's session, Igor did a super cool dive into posture and how to have the optimal posture, not just of your hands, but of your whole body, so that you don't get afflictions like tendonitis or anything that hurts you whenever you're doing repetitive motions that cause stress to the body. It's more of a holistic approach to technique, which was really cool to learn about. It really reminded me of Alexander Technique, if anybody's familiar with that. But thanks everybody, and thanks Igor. I'm going to introduce our next presenter, who is Steven. Now I need to take spotlight one more time, so give me just a second. And I think I saw Steven earlier. There he is. I'm spotlighting his video now. There he is. Hey, Steven. So I wanted to real quickly introduce you because Steven is an awesome ocarinist. He's a professional ocarinist and a professional woodwind player, and I'm really grateful to be friends with him. I've known him for quite a while, and I know that he's kind of he's done a lot. He does a lot of stuff. He's very busy all the time. But and correct me if this is incorrect, please. But he's done a lot of private teachings at this
Hmm.
point, and that's his main focus in Ocarina right now. Um, so mainly, all the people that you've heard from so far have been um, private lesson instructors or people who do workshops. And Jordan, I know, is a band director. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, okay. So that's kind of the exception. But I want to let Steven kind of just introduce himself and talk a little bit about what he does. And if you don't need the full 20 minutes, feel free to cut out, but use as much as you'd like from now.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I kind of want to kind of see what chat's wanting to do and stuff, and seeing like
Okay.
what questions they have and stuff. So yeah, my name is Steven. Thank you, Nicholas, for introducing me. I was a music education major, like Jordan was in my undergrad. I graduated in fall of 2020, and now I'm currently a graduate student for clarinet performance. So that's been pretty exciting. Very busy, but I'm also teaching private lessons. I try to limit myself a little bit just because I'm super slammed with clarinet, so I only try to do about 5 lessons at a time. But yeah, I kind of wanted to use this as kind of a. I want to ask what people in the chat are wanting to talk about, or like what questions they have for me, because I definitely have had lots of questions in the past, and I'm sure some people have more questions, stuff like that. Or if it's questions regarding some other topics that were discussed earlier in the panel, I'd be happy to talk about those as well. Uh, any questions? Or if Nicholas, if you have any questions, or anyone.
Oh, I definitely do.
Ooh.
But let me
I want to talk about this first one from Stephanie. Returning to playing after time off for injuries. This one is in particular a huge one for me because I've definitely dealt with lots of injuries in the past in terms of like my fingers and stuff, and I'm still like trying to make sure like my fingers are good and stuff. Definitely one of the big things is don't push yourself. There is no need. There's no need to push yourself and be like, oh, I have to practice and stuff like that. If you can, especially depending on the injury, working with someone who is certified, like a certified like whatever doctor that can like kind of help you get techniques for making sure your wrists are still okay, or if your fingers are not feeling sore in the morning, stuff like that. because I'm especially starting to develop stuff in my fingers. I've been working with like someone who I know is a doctor, and they've kind of been like, oh yeah, you should be doing these exercises every morning right before you play and stuff like that, and that's personally helped me a lot. Yeah, you definitely have to search around because I know some doctors probably can't help as much as others. Any other questions? I'm not too familiar with that topic just because I don't have that many injuries. I just mainly have my fingers and wrists. Uh, do you have prepared in different? Oh, yeah. I actually do. Here, let me just copy and paste this into a document. I'm just gonna have this student as anonymous. But for all the students that I teach, I actually have like a document kind of like what we're working on, areas they excel in, just that type of stuff. Here, let me just open up, copy. Can I get host privileges, Nicholas?
Yes, sir.
All right. Just gonna name this student B. Okay. Okay. So I actually have a document for each of my students that I normally kind of have like somewhat of like a practice plan slash where they are right now. I think you can see the screen share. Can you, Nicholas? Can you confirm or someone?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I ended up so when I first have my like first lesson, I kind of do this first impressions things where I kind of see where they are. I kind of see what skills they're really good with, some skills that they need to improve on. And this in particular, this student, one of the things that we talked a lot about is working on our breath control, sight reading, posture and technique. And their pitch was also like a little bit on the offside, but they were very good with learning by ear, and just their oral skills in general were really high, which I was really surprised about. So one of the things that we're kind of working on is like making sure we're having good posture at all times. For breath control, we're using this thing called a breath builder, which I'm not sure if you know what it is, but essentially this is something that my clarinet instructor actually has us do during our warm-ups sometimes. And essentially you're trying to keep this ball up here at all times. So like for example, we'll put a metronome at like 60 beats per minute, and we'll do something kind of like and then we'll do 3 beats, 4 beats, and however long like the student can do. And that's been something that we've been doing to work on their breath. And then intonation, we've been playing along with like a drone and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different things that we kind of do. Yeah, there's some Darth Vader stuff, but this has really helped me in my breath control because especially since I'm asthmatic, I've always had breathing problems. But ever since I've been working on breath control and particularly working with that, my breath control has been through the roof, and it's been a lot better.
We do have a quick question from the Q&A. It says from Sydney, as a trombonist, I typically have to use more air. Now while playing ocarina, I tend to play to the hard. I tend to play to hard. What tips do you have?
Yeah, that's definitely something I struggled with a lot, especially being primarily a woodwind instrument player, and especially when I was playing a lot of saxophone, I was always blowing a lot of air, which I didn't need to. The easiest answer to that is get a higher breath ocarina, which I ended up getting. I ended up getting a custom ocarina from Imperial City, and I ended up just telling them, give me a super super high breath pressure ocarina, and that's what they did, and that's what I used for a little bit just because that's what I was used to. In terms of the more practical approach where you don't have to spend money, just doing a lot of drone work and scale work, like just doing scales over drones at slow and steady tempos. That really helps over time because especially with low notes, I struggled with that for a very long time. Anyone in the ocarina ensemble can definitely confirm that I was definitely blowing a little bit too hard on the lower notes when I first when the ensemble first met together. Let's see. I'm just making sure. Am I screen sharing still? I am. I'm just gonna stop that really quick. There we go. Sorry, I'm just looking through all the chat right now because there's so many questions. Do you have? Okay. Okay, here's one from Bradley. How do you approach learning to construct harmonies with multiple ocarinas? If you can clarify kind of what you're meaning with that, just so I like know what exactly to talk about, that'd be much appreciated. I'll get to that once I scroll down the chat a little bit more. How long does it take to get into steady state routine with student? I think just like what Christina says, it really depends on the student and kind of like their mental state and stuff like that. There's all those things that you kind of have to watch for. I think adjusting to kind of your students' needs is definitely really important when it comes to developing a steady state routine. Luckily, I haven't really had too many problems with that, at least for me. But normally it takes, I'd say, 2 to 3 weeks until we're like, okay, we're going. But I like to kind of have everything up front with the student, like, all right, what do you want to work on? What do you want to do? Are you wanting me to be really strict about certain things? Are you wanting me to be a little bit more relaxed? And you kind of just want to see how they want their feedback, how they want the pace of the lesson to go, and you can also kind of observe that as you guys go as well. Oh, learning counterpoint. That's a whole nother that's a whole nother thing. I'm actually definitely not experienced with teaching counterpoint too much. How long is it? Oh, okay. I'm a flutist who plays ocarina. How did you get involved with the ocarina community coming from the clarinet world? That's a great question. So I ended up getting involved with the ocarina during my senior year of high school. I had a friend who got an ocarina. I'm like, yo, this is so cool, and I bought my first ocarina, and I was really loving it. Oh, hey Jordan. And I ended up just loving the ocarina, and I was kind of just playing it on the side while I was, taking clarinet lessons and stuff like that in high school, my senior year. After 2 years of me playing, David posted on his YouTube channel saying that they're looking for the 7th member for the ocarina ensemble. And I'm like, I'll see what happens. I'll see maybe what advice I can get. And then David's like, hey, do you want to come play with Ocarina Ensemble? And that's kind of how I got really involved with the Ocarina community, because I didn't really know anyone else in the Ocarina community until that point. Oh, that was your recommendation for learning counterpoint for writing with multiple ocarinas. Yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother can of worms. How to find different harmonies for different ocarinas and different songs. Sorry, I'm just reading through the chat really quick. Nicholas, do you have any questions for me while I'm reading through chat, just trying to see?
I most definitely do.
Yes.
So, if you were to teach a complete beginner, would you assign them a method book? If so, which one?
Ooh, I mean, I would probably, just because I'm most familiar with David's method book, I think that's probably what I would use, just because I've read through it a few times before, and I would definitely do that. But at least for like me teaching my private lessons to my students, I don't really use a method book per se. I normally just create all the lesson plans kind of by scratch, and then kind of go along with that. And I normally create sheet music and assignments for them through MuseScore and stuff like that. Yeah, if I had to choose a method book, I would probably use David's. How do you find harmonies between different ocarinas for different songs? Normally the easiest way to look for creating harmonies is looking at the current chord of the song. So for example, if you're playing with a set backing track, and you see okay, this chord is in C major, then you're probably going to want to use something in that triad for C major, which would be C, E, and G, and kind of just going through each of the chords and each of the measures for that. And that's normally how I would create harmonies if I was creating harmonies completely from scratch. And that's that comes with just learning theory, which is a whole nother can of worms. I actually have a question for you, Nicholas. In your experience with teaching, at least for private lessons, do you teach much theory as opposed to teaching in the classroom? I've actually been wanting to ask that question, so I thought it would be a good
Absolutely.
opportunity too.
So let me get into that answer right now. I'm gonna real quickly just take host back. Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's what I was gonna do. You helped me. So first of all, whenever I do teach private students, and I recently taught a student, I'm not gonna say what their name is, but um, when I teach students in the classroom, I teach them differently than I teach them privately. When I teach them privately, I go more for a personalized approach. But one thing that I do focus a lot on, and I think I do this a lot more than most teachers, is I focus on music literacy, music reading, and I focus on music theory a lot of the times, to the point where like I do have them download MuseScore. I have them learn key signatures, time signatures, modes, scales, and things like that, which I think are really invaluable for getting into different ways of playing. And I emphasize that although classical is a really good tradition to learn, it's also important, like Jordan said, to play by ear, and really, really important to be able to learn how to improvise and create music. And that's a thing we don't do as much sometimes. We get very focused on reading, interpreting, and doing stuff like that. But creating music and improving is one of the highest and most difficult skills to be able to creatively do. Some people have a really good talent for it, and it's like they have a good aptitude for like ear training and also creating music, but it's a lot harder for a lot of people to create tunes on the spot, especially that go with other musicians, with keys, modulations, and things like that. I hope that answered the question.
That answers it perfectly. Thank you so much. I especially agree with just like, oh, you turned off your camera. Wow, okay. Let me replay spotlight. There we go. I definitely agree with the improvisation part because I also teach a little bit of jazz improvisation just because a lot of my background is like, playing improvisation like saxophone, clarinet, and stuff. Ocarina is definitely not my forte in terms of improvisation, but I need to work on that more, especially with switching between chambers. That's a big one. Um, I mean, classical has improv too. There's a lot, but there's so many different styles that have improvisation. There's so many
Yeah,
things you can do with that. One
definitely.
of my favorite things in terms of improvisation to do, especially with like students who are starting out, it's not necessarily doing it with a particular style, but I like doing this thing kind of like called like meditative improvisation, where we'll put on a drone and the student will improv over that, and they kind of hear like where notes tend to want to go. For example, this you have your leading tones like B is gonna want to go to C on a C major triad and stuff like that. There's so many different things with that stuff, but
Yeah, I love that. That sounds like such a cool idea. B's want to go to C's and then Fa's want to go to Me's. Oh, I love that. That's amazing. Oh, what a good
and
idea.
like and then when you start to have the student like listen to that, their improvisation just completely changes the way they're thinking about things. It's mind blowing. It's
That's
crazy to
real
see
good.
the progress when they
I
do
love
that.
that idea. I might have to steal it.
Yeah,
there's
just
a
put on like a cello drone. Cello drones, oh, they're so good.
there's a really good saying that says a really good teacher steals. Or I forgot how it is, but the punchline is a really good teacher steals without getting caught. So anyway, I do want to ask you real quick, just because it's almost time for the next person. I want to make sure that we get your info and your deets. So let's get that all worked out. So tell us if somebody here wants to sign up for lessons from you. You do offer private lessons. You said you
Mhm.
only have very limited available slots. So can you walk us through the process of how we would do that? To kind of get in touch with you and try to get lessons from you.
Yes. So there's two ways you can do it. You can either do it through my Patreon, or you can do it through email. Whatever works for you. I normally just have students sign up with email because a lot of them take 30-minute lessons just because that's a lot more convenient for some people as opposed to hour-long lessons because life is busy and stuff like that. Um, I'll put my email in the chat.
Perfect.
Currently I don't have slots, but starting in late August, I'll have two more spots open for people who are wanting to take lessons. Because right now I'm limiting to myself to 5, and I already have 5 right now. But 2 of them are dropping out once school starts. So
Got it. Yeah, that happens sometimes as well. So I completely appreciate everything you do, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, okay, so upcoming in a little bit, we have another another teacher in just a second. But before we let go of Steven, lastly, I want to make sure we give him a huge virtual applause. He is an awesome, awesome private teacher, and I've really enjoyed getting to know more of what he does privately. I think he's an incredibly talented musician, and anyone can learn so many things from him. So please give him a really big virtual applause. Thank you for being here today, Steven.
Can I
And
answer one more
please,
question?
yes, sir.
I saw one in the Q&A.
Absolutely.
How do you meet local musicians to start a band? I want to start playing with people again, but don't know how. This one is huge. There's a there's a lot of different ways to go about this. I'd say it's definitely difficult, especially depending on the area. But at least for like ocarina and stuff, it also depends on the style because some styles is definitely easier to play on ocarina than others. But I know some people have like find like Celtic bands and stuff that they play ocarina and they absolutely love it. There's others that have played ocarina with other live musicians, which can be kind of difficult. The easiest way I'd say to find local musicians is try to find jam sessions if there are any jam sessions near you. Because if there's these like open end jam sessions, you can definitely go to these. You can network with people. You can play with them and stuff like that. That's been in my experience what I've done to kind of meet like more jazz musicians and stuff like that. Especially since I just moved to New Mexico, I don't really know too many people here, so I've been trying to go to like jam sessions to kind of meet more people outside my music department.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Steven. I really appreciate you answering that question. Is this volume a little bit better? Somebody said I was a little soft.
Yes, the volume is a lot better.
Okay. I'm
It's
glad.
been really soft, so yeah.
Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with that, but I'm gonna try to. Okay, so this is better. Still?
It's better.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So again, giving a hand to Steven, our next educator is actually somebody that's kind of close to what I do. I'll explain in a minute. But she has been teaching for quite a while. I'm gonna let her tell you how many years she's been teaching if she wants to share that. She has been teaching in Oklahoma for quite a while, and she is actually currently an elementary music teacher. So we've heard first from people that specialize in teaching ocarina privately. And now we're going to hear a little bit more about people that teach ocarina in the classroom a little bit more. So here's how I'm going to introduce her. Her name is Deborah Goodhead, and she is an educator. Hey, Deborah. She's an educator at, I think it's Norman Public Schools. Oh, I'm so sorry. Can you unmute yourself? Correct me, please.
No, I'm currently in more schools.
More schools. Thank you so much. More schools. And she teaches in the classroom and has been teaching for quite a while. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of let her do her part of the session. Like I said, when my camera turns on, that's right around the time that your time may be up, but it'll be around 20 minutes. So here's her presentation, and she's just going to kind of talk about what she does. If you don't use all the 10 minutes, feel free to ask for questions or just let me know that that's it. All right. Thank you, Deborah, and let's welcome her with a big hand.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Nicholas. Very glad to join you all. My adventure in ocarina, first of all, I should say that I'm a clarinet player since I was in junior high. And actually at school, 2001 was when it started. One of my third grade students was playing Ocarina of Time. And he came up to me and asked me what an ocarina was. And I said, I have no idea. And so I began to look into it and try to find some ocarinas. Immediately found out not all ocarinas are the same. Not all of them play diatonically. And then I discovered the website clayz.com. Dennis Pardee was working with Richard and his wife, and he had these little 4-hole ocarinas that you could paint and have all kinds of fun with, and the students could buy them. He gave me a discount, and I thought, well, this could be fun. And so we started buying ocarinas from him every year, and we would learn how to play them with the basic tonguing and embouchure and everything, and the tab. but it wasn't. And I did take it to some groups. Took it to a Girl Scout group, and it was really interesting. One of the students learned how to play the 4-hole, and then about 10 years later, she came to me. Her mom was a friend of mine and asked, "Do you teach 12-hole ocarina?" I said no, but I know where we can get them. And in my exploring the websites and everything during the years of teaching the 4-hole, I discovered STL ocarina, and STL I knew had 6-hole and 12-hole ocarinas and method books. And so we bought some of the books and some clay ocarinas, and then right in my living room learned how to play the 12-hole. And I really fell in love with it because of the fingering being, systematic and much easier tone to produce than the recorder, soprano recorder I've been teaching for years. I have taught 27 years now, but it was 2001 that I started teaching ocarina. And I'm a firm believer that, there's lots of the method books, Macmillan and Silver Burdette and all the things we've been teaching over the years, but I was a firm believer about 2001 that I started teaching instrument units, whether it's guitar, I added ukulele, percussion unit, recently added bucket drumming and all other kinds of things with percussion, but the ocarina and the recorder is what I use for woodwinds. I really try to give all my students experience and all the families of the orchestra. I don't teach brass, but I do have a trombone, and they love blowing it. So as a band person, or band nerd you might say, from junior high, I encourage my students to consider being in band in our school district. It starts in 7th grade, and also the choir program starts then also. So 2001 I started teaching it, and then I added the 6-hole and 12-hole, and now of course my first books were from dragonocarinas.com, some others you can't get anymore. Whistleworks.com used to be out. Of course, Songbird Ocarina was the one that had the history, easily accessed, and so even in the beginning, I wanted to see the kids to kind of connect it to something they would enjoy learning about. And the video game, Ocarina of Time, I actually played the game with my daughter before I started teaching it. So with the Wii, you can actually use GameCube discs inside of the Wii when it first came out. And so I can actually project it using my smart board, and the kids can use the controllers I have and actually play the songs and show how it works inside the game, and they love that. So to get their attention, it really makes a difference. But the STL book, I'd like to show the book for 12-hole if I can.
Definitely. Do you have it on your computer, or do you have it in...
Yes, I have it loaded on my computer, so if I could have permission to share screen.
Here you go.
Okay. Oh, okay.
You have the permission now.
Okay, so if I change now, let's see here. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay, can you see it?
We can't see it yet.
Okay, so I need to go back into...
So it's the green button, and you can click the green button to share screen.
Okay, let's see, let me get this back down. Oh, now I lost my... Oh, there it is. Yep.
When you share your screen, be sure you select the right application that you're using.
Okay. Oh no. I've made my screen really small now. I'm not sure how to make it big again. I have not been using Zoom lately. Stop video, no. Oh, there we go. Okay, so if I share screen, and there it is. Sure. But anyway, after I started teaching the 12-hole, STL's book, I really, really like it for education, because it really it shows everything. It teaches you how to hold your ocarina, your embouchure. It's very sequential in your notes, and the fact that it's PDF file and I can put it right on my smart board just really makes it. I have it for 12 and for 6-hole. And the breathing, there it is on breathing. And then your first notes teaches note values. What's important to me, and you can talk all day about different note values, whether it's the quarter note, the half note, the whole note. But if you don't give them an opportunity, you can do some with the xylophones, the barred instruments, and Orff. But if you don't give them other opportunities and other instruments, to me, it's not showing how music goes across all the instruments. And that's why I really, playing tab, ocarina tab was fun. We'd sing the songs and know how they go and then do the tab. But now you have the note values. I did have a book from Washington State, these two women who put Ocarina Arena together, and they were the first ones to put that I know of anyway, to put the tab on the top of the note head. So you could see what you're playing, which was very interesting. But STL, for me, it's worked for me. It teaches all the notes. And, of course, everyone should know hot cross buns. It has hot cross buns in 2 different keys. But known songs so they can really think about their notes. And by the way, while I'm teaching, I'm not sure anybody else talked about it, in the classroom it's very important to me to have playing positions so people do not play at the wrong time. And so I have neck position on your necklace. I have fingering position. We just finger the notes together and say the notes. And then the third position is playing position. And I do that on recorder also to keep everybody on the same page and make sure we are together. But also this book also has exercises in the back, repertoire and scales. But it's just awesome. I don't know if anybody else makes a product like this, but I really like it. So, and if I go back to screen, how do I exit this? Select a window.
You can click at the very top of your screen. It'll say stop sharing your screen in red.
Stop sharing. Ah, there it is. Okay, very good. So anyway, but I've used those first books, Songbird and some other little books. And of course, as time went by, I met David. I tried to get David Ramos to come to my school on a grant, but my state does not support artists in residence anymore. They used to, but they did not at the time I was trying to get David to come visit us. But I would like to use more of his book, and I do use his videos online, and he actually has play-alongs. I'm not sure if everybody knows about that, but for the classroom, from Zelda and whatnot, so we've done some of those with David. And I show him playing for, so they know what you can do with the ocarina. But STL. Oh, by the way, my teaching method, I'm not sure if I've told you, Nicholas, but I start my first graders on my 4-hole from Bear Paw Flutes or clayz.com. And then 2nd and 3rd grade, I do the 6-hole ocarina from STL. 4th grade, I do recorder. I use Angel recorders, so they seem to have the best pitch. And then 5th and 6th graders are the ones I use for 12-hole. And by the way, if anybody's interested, if you go to, what's the name of the website? STL actually came to my school, and it's on Facebook. I'm not sure if I can think of the location right now, but they made a video. It was a lot of fun for them to come, and the students, had a couple of students that shared why they liked ocarina. Evergreen, that's it, Evergreen Music Foundation. If you search that inside of Facebook, you will find the video of me talking. I sit at my desk, and then they came and made a video. Lots of fun. I've had lots of fun with STL. They've given me ocarinas and books and all kinds of things, and they have lots of resources. And they'll even provide tabs if you ask them what song. Very, very nice group. Very supportive of educators. But there's also, I don't know if everybody knows, Pinterest.com has tab, and I've used some videos, well, some not videos, tab from them for anime songs, and trying to provide different experiences for the kids. Of course, we've done Star Wars and all kinds of fun, but and the Ocarina of Time songs. And one thing I should also mention, if you are an educator, you might know about Music K8 magazine. They have lots and lots of resources for recorder, and since the recorder is in the key of C, you can also use ocarinas, which I have many of, to play those songs also with accompaniments and whatnot. So it's another resource. But Pinterest is good, and all kinds of things. So I'm just constantly adding things and looking for ideas and want to make it fun for the kids. I do it for about 6 to 8 weeks, depending on, if they're still in tune with me and still going. And sometimes we'll perform for the school, but performance has been canceled this last year. I hope they come back.
Me too. It's been different. We
Mhm.
did have a question from Charles, and I'm gonna turn on my video just to let you know that you have about 10 minutes. So question. Let me see. It said, Deborah, question: do you have any questions for new and upcoming educators?
Well, I have had some people here in Edmond, Oklahoma. I had a teacher, actually, the very school I did my student teaching, asked me about ocarina, and she was very interested in it. I told her, I really encourage music teachers to open up to the ocarina. I mean, the recorder is good, but pitch, getting that middle C out with the 12 hole, for instance, is so much easier. And it's so fun to play. Of course, I'm a clarinet player, but it's hard to, I've noticed, it's very, very hard to get some of the other people who've been in music education for a long time to try something new. In fact, I talk about that in that Music Foundation, Evergreen Music Foundation video is, give it a try. STL will actually send you a free ocarina for you to try it. I think they still do that. But it's just so much fun. It's so different. It comes from a video game. They really love that. Of course, I talk about the history of the ocarina, and I do have the book from, the one couple that they made a really nice. In that video, there's also a video still available through, what's her name? She's in Germany. She went to the Ocarina Museum. I know they've closed it down in recent years, but that video is still available where they take you through downtown and they're saying, "Oh, do you know what an ocarina is?" They're asking people, and finally this girl says, "Oh, flute, like a flute." But anyway, they walk you into the over 1,000 ocarinas and show the ocarinas, and then of course, what's her name? Come on, you know what her name is? Nicholas. Famous ocarina player, Germany. She teaches it.
Are you talking about let me think.
She's
Vera?
young. Who?
Vera?
Yes, Vera Unfred. Yes,
Vera Umfried, right?
yes,
Okay. Okay.
yes, yes. She does this video. I think she's recently had a child, but
Yeah.
she shows her teaching her little small ensembles and took some ocarinas to a kindergarten class, which I thought was very interesting. 12 hole. But I really like her. And she did actually answer a question I had, what notes that she teaches first in order. And I think she went back to the BAG, which I thought was interesting, or G and went up. But anyway, I asked her a question. It was so kind of her to answer me. But
So, we do have one last question for you before you tell us a little bit of info in case you do teach privately. I don't know if you teach privately. Do you teach privately?
in person, I've had a student, the one that helped me get on to 6 and 12 hole, but I would love to have someone here in this area.
Okay, so you teach privately in person. Okay, I understand.
Yeah, I really don't teach on the internet yet.
Okay.
Not against it, it's just not, yeah, I would rather be, I only have a few students anyway. I have around 400 students during the day, kindergarten through 6.
So that answers
So,
the question that you just got because you got a question from Sydney that said, "Did you ever teach a large class over Zoom or a large ocarina class? If so, how did you do it and how did it go?"
no, I've never done it. I think that would be very hard.
Ask me
Just
that
the things
question
I've,
in a minute, Sydney. I've done it and I have stories to tell you, Sydney. Okay, so just hang
oh,
in
good.
line and I will answer that question for you.
Teaching
But
over Zoom is so
it's
teaching band. That's because I did my student teaching, and it was band over Zoom, and it was. There's a reason why I'm in grad school right now because I just did not want to teach over Zoom. It's wild.
yeah,
Hmm.
it gets a little wild, but I'm gonna let Deborah just kind of finish off her presentation and tell us if how we can get a hold of her if we're in the central Oklahoma area. And we want to get private lessons in case anybody here is from the central Oklahoma area. and they want to get private ocarina lessons, do you teach any other instruments in addition to ocarina?
Yes, I teach beginning piano and ukulele. I love ukulele. It's so much fun. I like it better than guitar, actually. Yeah.
Well, how can we get a hold of you if we want to take lessons from you?
Well, probably my home email would be better than my school email. Uh, if you could put it on there for him, sing alto, the number two, little u, at AOL.com.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me.
And
I love
so,
to sing alto.
if you don't mind, send me that information um, uh, by Facebook so I can post it in case anybody is interested on the global network. That way, in case
Okay.
anybody's interested in having private lessons, they can contact you.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So, that being said, let me think. Let's do. Oh yes, the final. I was like, who's the final presenter? There's one more. It's me. Okay. So let's give Miss Deborah Goodhead a very wonderful applause. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you for being
Welcome.
here. We really appreciate you. All right. The last person is me, and as y'all already know me, I wear many hats. All right, so let me reclaim host. Let me do the spotlight dance one more time. Hello, everybody. Okay. All right. I have to tell you first a few things about myself before we get started. Formally, just telling you a few things. Okay. So, you know me as a person who keeps talking and emceeing stuff, but here's a way you can get to know me a little more. I am my name is Nicholas Miranda. That's my full name. I am a bachelor's of music education, graduate from the University of Texas at Arlington. Um, I am a certified Kodai level 3 teacher educator and a certified ORF educator. Really, there's entire conventions based off of the Kodai and ORF methodology, but I'm going to try to boil it down in like one sentence just because I don't want to take up a whole lot of time. And we have the Andean panel right after this. So, I wanted really quickly to just talk about that. And what I was going to say was this. Um, the Kodai approach is a singing based approach. So, kind of like how Jordan was saying, developing your inner ear, singing, reading music, and getting your notes on the staff and your music literacy, that's Kodai. And Kodai was a famous composer, ethnomusicologist, and incredible musician from Hungary. You can really look more into his work and kind of understand what he does. Um, Orf is a different educator who focuses more on, and the methodology is focused more on playing instruments and also focused on making music in motivic moments and including movements and rhythms. So, my background is from doing both of those things and also doing it at an elementary level. I am an elementary music teacher and I have been for 7 years. Um, my day job is quite literally to teach ocarina. And there's just I'm reading some of the comments. There's just some really there's some really cool intricacies and perks about teaching classroom ocarinas. And I want to make that distinction super clear because what Deborah and I do, and a few others that couldn't be here today do, is we actually teach ocarinas in a classroom with 20 to 30 children. And depends on our class sizes and age levels. I happen to be a all grade music teacher. So I have experience teaching from kindergarteners from 5 year olds all the way to 11-year-olds, which is crazy to think about. Ask me about that another day. But pretty much what our experience is we take the ocarina, we assign our students their assigned ocarina for the year, and we kind of take our classes through different levels of proficiency through the ocarina, and not just through the ocarina, but also through singing, through playing percussion instruments, and also through playing all sorts of melodic and harmonic instruments. And in addition to that, playing fun games because they're children. So that's what my day job is, and that's what I do. But recently, I decided I really wanted to focus more on my private lesson teaching. So right now I'm transitioning because I recently decided to step away from teaching. I'm answering Sydney's question. Are you still there, Sydney? I'm answering Sydney's question about the teaching over Zoom. This year changed a lot of things for a lot of people, and I'm not going to go into that. But one thing that I decided personally was I decided instead of going back to school this year, I would take a year off to try to focus more on teaching privately. Hey, Sydney. So, what I was going to say was to answer your question about teaching over Zoom. Yes, I have before. Um, Actually, one of the coolest things that I can show you right now is one of the videos that I did for my students. And this is just like a testimony to them teaching entirely online. In a pandemic world, you cannot have kids unmasked in a school yet, or at least at the time I was teaching them this past year in 2020, you couldn't. Now things are different all around the country, but they could not have their masks off in the building. So I had to teach them either outside. These were my options, either outside or I had to teach them virtually. And so sometimes I did outside, sometimes I did virtual. It was a mix of the two. And it was kind of weird and different, but it was quite an experience. So if you search my name, my full name, you'll find my school channel. They might take it down soon because I recently stepped down from my position. But this is my school channel right here. And I kind of have like I taught both virtually and in person at the same time, which is wild. Like while I was teaching in the classroom, I also had a Zoom going, and like I interacted with my online and in person kids at the same time at 50-minute intervals. It was insane. And one thing that I got to do with them was I got to make this, because I have video editing skills, I got to make these wonderful little videos for them where they got to actually have the experience of playing with a backtrack and recording at home, which is wonderful. So these are my students from 2020 playing at their Christmas concerts. I hope you enjoy. Pause it right there because we don't need to hear the rest of it. Y'all know the song, but pretty much that was my work and that was my life for about 7 years. It was so much fun. It was literally so much fun. And if you don't know what to do with your life, being a music teacher is really fun. It's a lot of work and you have to go to school for 4 years, but it's so much fun. So thank you. I really am kind of excited about sharing very quickly these next couple of minutes kind of what I do. I know I shared that video and that gives you kind of a good idea of what I did, but it also doesn't really give you an idea of how like we used to do things pre-pandemic, you know, because we used to do things pre-pandemic that were in a classroom, and we used to do things very differently, which were so fun and so much amazingness. By the way, the students you heard were third grade through fifth grade, and they do play the xylophone and the metallophone. So that the only part that was recorded was me playing the piano on a different setting. So that was me recording that backtrack for them, but they recorded that at home because of pandemic. So the thing that's really interesting about it, and I'm going to kind of talk through this really fast because I know we're starting the next panel soon. The thing that's really interesting about it is that I got a really good chance to kind of hone my skills at teaching online and also be able to provide practice sheets, tabs, whatever they needed. I created all of them for their concert. They played 3 songs for their concert. That was one of them. And their concert was online. Now, of course, in a pre-pandemic world, I do lead their ocarina ensemble, and I don't just teach ocarina, I also teach choir. So I'm going to share a little bit of what that looks like super quickly, because I'd rather you see the work that I do rather than just me telling you about it. So this is another one of their songs. This is back in 2019 or 2018. I don't really remember. And this was them playing a song. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I just wanted it to make sure that it stopped. Okay, so that's what I do. And for a long time, my job was to take complete beginners, teach them how to read music, teach them how to sing on pitch, and teach them how to play an instrument in the span of a couple of years or in the span of a year. Um, and I had various degrees of success and challenges with that. Um, Primarily, I use the Kodai methodology of having them learn stuff by ear. So they learn stuff by ear. And one of the things that was interesting was when they learned stuff by ear, they were able to just internalize that a lot better. But also, when they learned to read and write sheet music, that was incredibly intentionally awesome too. So I just want to tell you and show you a little bit about what I do for private, because I do public education, but I stepped down. So now I'm transitioning into having a full studio. And so, like I said, I don't want this to be a commercial for what I do, but I do want to definitely tell you that I teach privately, like all the other teachers, and tell you that I am available for that. I am limiting my slots to less than 10, just because I don't think I have any more time to teach quality lessons any more than 10. And I don't want to teach any more than 10 because that seems like a lot of individualized, personalized lesson plans. But what I do, just like Christina and Jordan and Steven do, is they create a personalized lesson plans for their students. They have a plan of things they want to teach them. Sometimes some of them said they select repertoire for them. What I do is, if you're a complete beginner, songbooks, method books. I like David's method book, but I don't have it on hand. I'm sorry. I promise I do have it. I also have Serious Ocarina Player by Robert Hickman, but I use this one, which is pretty standard, Ocarina Method by Chris Gale. And I also really like Schulfur Ocarina from Hans Rotter. That's the one that Vera also has I think, in her store as well. But Hans Rotter from Ocarina Music House has a lot of really cool publications. I have a lot more in this bag, but I don't have time to show you, so I'm really sorry about that. I pretty much, when it comes to an individual that I'm teaching ocarina, try to take a very, very personalized approach. We discuss what our goals are, what they want to do, because not everybody wants to be a professional musician. Some people want to take ocarina lessons because it's relaxing and it's a hobby. Other people are interested in competitive concert competitions. So it really depends on what the person wants to learn from me. If they want to learn competitive stuff, then we go more for doing drills and scales and lots of different I guess, exercises that put together the technique they require. I'm really big on Alexander technique because I was injured when I played cello. That was my main instrument at school. And had a really hard time recovering from that injury. So one of my favorite things is to help my students develop proper technique, make sure they have the right posture, a good cavity to breathe from, make sure they breathe from their diaphragm, and they kind of develop that really wonderful singing voice, because singing and ocarina can be really related together. And going from there, we can kind of get a feel for what their goals are and try their best to achieve the goal that they have. My goal is not to be their teacher forever. It's not. And I was so happy. This is really weird to say, but I was happy that one of my students quit. She was started from complete zero, like didn't know how to read music, doesn't have musical training. And by the end of like 6 months, she was reading sheet music. She was playing Swallowtail Jig. She was playing all sorts of different like sheet music that she was reading on her own. She's an adult student, and she was like, I think I can take it from here. I think I've become my own teacher. And I'm like, that's the goal. So that's my own personal philosophy. I don't want to teach everybody forever. If you want to be, hey, if you want to be my student for a long time, you are totally like welcome to talk to me and stuff. And I can tell you my rates like at the time whenever you ask me about teaching. But I definitely do just want to tell you, my goal is for you to become your own teacher, not for me to always kind of give you your music and do that for you forever, because you have the musicianship inside of you and the motivation to get better. No matter what your goal is, even if you play for fun and you just want to play at an open mic, or you just really want, by the way, you should sign up for our open mic. Quick plug. Or if you want to professionally try out for the Boudreaux competition, um, if any of those are your goals, I feel like any of the teachers here are very qualified to help you. I want to go back and take it to all the teachers. If you're here and you're a teacher, turn your camera one more time on. I'm going to remove my spotlight. I just want to make sure everybody gets a chance to see their faces one more time, and we get a chance to say bye to them. It's so, so important that we have teachers in the ocarina community. If you don't know how to participate and you want to be a really big part of ocarina community, become a teacher. It is so much fun and it can be so great. I personally just made the decision to replace recorders in my classroom because I couldn't find a really good quality one that my students were really interested in. So I decided to go just with ocarina. No, you don't have to do it the way I do it. You can do it your own way. You don't have to teach Coda. You don't have to teach Orff. You can just teach the way that is best for you. So definitely encourage anyone that's interested in becoming a music teacher. It's so, so important. We don't have enough. All right. And if you don't mind, turn your camera on if you're still here. We're going to take a quick picture. Christina. Hey, Christina. And Steven, are you still there, Steven? Hey, Steven. Steven. You, Steven. Okay, he might not be there. Okay, we're going to take a super quick picture. The last remaining 3 educators. And then we have to stop because I went super overtime. All right, smile. Okay, wonderful. I'll do that one more time. I'm sorry. I took it a little early. Okay, smile one more time. 3, 2, 1. All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, we did wonderful for the education panel, and I'm so happy to have these teachers. I'm really honored, honestly, to meet y'all and talk to y'all. I've been wanting to talk to every single one of y'all for a long time, and learning about you has been so much fun. I wish I had more time to share what I do, but that's going to be it. If you have questions, please definitely leave them in the... Oh, that's okay. I got it. Sorry. I did not know that. I just read the chat. I was going to say... Hello. I was going to say, I really appreciate everybody. If you would like also, there's other ocarina teachers out there. I'm not the only one. These are not the only ones. So feel free to reach out to anyone. I didn't know I know Chris Gill is a teacher. I didn't know Vero was a teacher. So if y'all want to take any lessons from them, reach out to them as well. I know what I can offer, and I'm super happy to offer what I have. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the camera and get ourselves set up for a wonderful Andean ocarina session. I'm so excited for this session. I really hope everybody enjoys it. And I hope everybody has a good time. So Thanks again. Let's give a big hand to our teachers that were here. I love meeting my teachers. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Jack, thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody. I'm turning off all the cameras right now and gonna just play some music. So if you don't mind, turn off your camera and I'll reset things all back to normal now. Think we are ready if I'm not mistaken. Stefan, can you hear me? Can you turn on your camera? Did I give you admin privileges? No, I did not.
Yes.
Oh, I did. Okay, good. Okay. I'm spotlighting your video so you have it. I want to really quickly introduce Stefan, who is amazing person. And I want to do a quick apology real quick because I messed up the schedule today. I was
Don't worry.
supposed to do the Andean panel before the Teachers Expo, and now it's running really late. So I absolutely apologize about that. That's my fault. But I'm introducing my personal friend, Stefan. He is from Viña del Mar in Chile. And we're switching gears completely now, talking from education all the way to talking a lot more about folk music. And the interesting part about what we just talked about is if I would have gone a little more in depth about my teaching methodology, I love teaching folk songs and traditional music. And so that's going to be something that Stefan is going to talk in depth about. And I am so excited personally to listen to this session because I want to know way more about all the instruments that he's going to talk about, all of the different kind of regional things that I may not be aware of that he knows. So I really want to hand it over to him to talk a little bit about that. So go ahead, Stefan. You have as much time as you need.
Thanks a lot, Nicholas. Well, first of all, as Nicholas says, I'm Stefan Christiansen, and I'm from Chile, which is a country, if you don't know, in South America, next to Argentina, Peru. And well, I'm going to share a presentation. Tell me if you can see it. It's okay?
We can see it.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to talk about ocarina on Andean music. First of all, we need to know what is Andean music. The Andean mountains is like a set of mountains that cross all through all through South America. They have like more than 7,000 kilometers, and well, they reach like through Chile, Argentina, Peru, Bolivia, Colombia, Ecuador, and they, when we talk about Andean music, it's mainly about all these different cultures from all these different countries, but generally that they live next to the mountains, where they have these like ancient cultures associated with all these like mountain and plain terrains and nature and all that stuff that were made like in a common type of music, even though it's really different across every country. but there are some elements in common and some instruments in common generally. So with that in context, first of all, for us Latin Americans, South Americans in general, the ocarina, most of us, I'm sure that know it before even knowing about Zelda or anything, because we have these roots connected to the pre-Columbian ocarina. Everyone here knows about this, what was the roots of the ocarina. So you can find ancient ocarinas here a lot. In any museum you will go to in South America, you will find pre-Columbian ocarinas, especially in Ecuador, Peru, also in Latin America, going up, also in Mexico, in Central America, like, I don't know, Costa Rica, for example, República Dominicana. They all have these ocarinas in common. And they were typically zoomorphic, anthropomorphic, or globular. This means like with shapes of animals, of people, or totems, or kings, or warriors, or anything. And also these like globular whistles. And they are mainly, or people associate them mainly with instruments that were used for imitating animal sounds, for ritual music, like, I don't know, like. But really, if you find different cultures and through all the years, you can find that they use it really as music instruments also. You can find ancient pentatonic ocarinas, sometimes not tuned to accurate Western tuning, but they use it like also for really music. Now, almost I'm sure that all of you know about the modern ocarina, and the change is that they are tuned in traditional Western scales, but the cool thing is that they still keep this ancestral sound that for us South American means a lot. So, for example, I will stop sharing. For example, this ocarina has the shape of ancient like ocarinas, but it's actually a modern ocarina made here in Chile. Tuned, for example, this one is in D major. And you can see that it plays like modern music. So we like keeping these roots, but we use it as musical instruments too. So going back. And well, generally we like mixing that sound, that ancient sound, with more natural vibes like native music to incorporate it in modern music. So let me see. Examples of Latin American songs with ocarina. And here I'm talking about specifically Latin American music because I don't find so many Andean music in generally using the ocarina as like a serious instrument. Yeah? As I said, you can find it mainly on the museums sitting there. Not so many popular bands or musicians use it like really popularly. So in Andean music generally, the wind instruments that are most used, and I will talk about a little later, more in depth about it, but they are the quena and the zampoña, or pan flute as you know it. But I found some good examples of how some Latin American bands use it in the ocarina on different contexts. And one of the bands from Chile that use it more, I think it's Los Jaivas. So I will show you some examples here. For example, this song called La Centinela, there is the ocarina.
del abismo sin fondo.
So that, well, the highest one is actually a recorder. They use it a lot, but the one below was an ocarina. For example, the same song, just to show you that it's really an ocarina, so you can see it live, there. He's playing it there in another key, but it's the same. And as you can see, they try to use it. They take advantage of the ocarina's sound, doing it not so much like traditionally music, I mean, like articulated notes. They use it like that, like that. They tend to do like a lot of legato and not so much articulations, like more native music. And they incorporate it in modern songs. Another example by the same band is here. This is a masterpiece. It's an 11-minute song. They played it here on Machu Picchu in Peru. And this song, for example, is a progressive rock song. And it has a lot of parts. And here is the ocarina. Let me go. So you can see how they mix it in this rock song with electric guitars, powerful drums and everything, but they like to put that sound and they play it with that intention. It's not like any instrument could replace it. It's not like, we just wanted to use an ocarina. No, that part was composed specifically for ocarina. Another example from the same band. So as I told you, this is the band I know that use it the most. This one. It's like 20 minutes around there. So, by the way, I'm not seeing the chat right now. So, Nicholas, if you see any question, just interrupt me. Yeah, by the way, just an advice.
Okay, no worries.
Perfect. Thanks.
I do have a question for you. Do
Okay.
I count too?
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
I really love what you're presenting and all the music that you're showing. I love it whenever you show the Los Jaivas. I wanted to ask you if we would also get to see your experimental traditional instruments too.
Okay. Yeah. Do you mean the ones that I use, that I play?
Yeah, the ones you used at your performance at the end of the session. Don't worry about it right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Just
Yeah. No
anytime.
problem. Yeah. At the end of the session, I will go to the next room and, and get them. Yeah. No
Thank
problem.
you, Stefan. You're awesome.
Perfect. So, and was one last example from this band. This is from their first album, which was really experimental, and it was like just them being high and playing anything. So you can see this like improvisation, but using the ocarina. And so they go on like that, just improvising, and they made it like an album. Another examples, I want to show you some other bands that I have found that also use it. I have only found Chilean bands, by the way. If anyone, I don't know, knows another band from the rest of South America, it would be great. But I have found only Chilean bands. This one is called Congreso, the band. This band also makes like really progressive music, and they also use in this song I'm going to show you the ocarina. Like they play the same lick all over the song, like as a base of the whole song. But it's a really complex song. Then they improvise with sax, keyboards, and everything, and you will see it right now. This one is the ocarina. There he is. So you can see he keeps doing the same to achieve a special effect on the song. It's really, really interesting.
Nieve pura, ¿qué pasó? Lluvia, ¿dónde estás? Caí del cielo y su temblor, sangre, ¿a dónde vas? Ay, Mapocho, cerro abajo, no lleva vida hacia...
So you can see they have a full excellent band with bass, saxophone, keyboards, marimbas, and they included the ocarina to achieve, as I told you, an special effect. It's not that they use it like any other instrument, they use it exactly for that.
Stefan, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I really
Go.
need to know that song.
No, perfect. Actually, I enjoy it if it's more a conversation than just
Okay.
an exposure. Yeah.
Okay. So, what scale was that in? That scale was really beautiful. I really want to know.
Oh, I have no idea. I would I haven't learned that riff actually, so I'll probably learn it later. But that ocarina, I'm sure it's from also from Arcoiris. Arcoiris ocarinas from Chile. Because that band is actually from the same. They are from the same region. I don't know if they are exactly from the same city, from Viña del Mar, that I am. And they met this maker, Ocarina Arcoiris, which is currently making ocarinas, which is the one that I showed you before, and that you know, Nicolas, because you have ocarinas from them. So I would have to find out. I'm not sure what scale that is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I have the ocarina tuned in that, but I have a one that's in that same register. I'm sorry, I'm asking my question, but I just needed to know. So I guess it's a question I'll have to listen to it later. Mapuche, right?
Yeah, I mean they have to. Yeah, we have to see it later. Okay. Yeah, I don't have the answer right now.
Okay.
Perfect. Now another example. This is actually an Andean. This is the most Andean band, from Chile, that plays the ocarina. I have found it just on this song, but they are really making Andean music with all the instruments I'm going to tell you later, but charango, quenas, zampoñas, and all that. And they are called Iyapu, and they use the ocarina on a little segment with along of all other instruments like tarcas, quenas, etc. You can find it here. Hi, there. So you can see that they use it a little on that song. All the other wind instruments are the most used on Andean music, but it's cool to see that they had the opportunity to use it on Andean songs. And the last one I want to show you, it's from a friend I saw. He's really a well-known Andean musician from Chile, and he's called Fernando Chepo Sepúlveda. And he works a lot with a maker from the north of Chile that is called Fernando Alfaro, that has a lot of knowledge of the pre-Columbian ocarina roots. And here he uses it on this video. I'm going to show you that first he uses like a double ocarina that I'm not sure if it's like properly tuned, but it has like more Andean roots or pre-Columbian roots, sorry. And then later in the video, he uses a really properly tuned ocarina from Ocarinas Arcoiris. And there is the Ocarina Arcoiris. it is. As you could see from all these videos from different bands, and the idea of I wanted to give you like a huge grasp or a little grasp of what is the context of how the ocarina has been used mostly on South American music, yeah, in general. That you could see that they use it mainly like that, with that intention of more like a native sound, like that. So I think I would love to see it more in this context because I think that they achieve a really great effect. So going back to the presentation. Now going directly to Andean music, yeah? Because as I told you, those were some examples that were from South American bands that playing like progressive rock, some native songs, but not traditionally Andean music. So, on Andean music, you can find a lot of different styles according to all the different countries, such like huaynos, sayas, carnavalito, taquirari, San Juanito, cumbia, cueca, etc. And as I told you, the main wind instruments which are used through all the Andean music are the quena and the zampoña. So, the quena is generally tuned, and I mean generally because you can find it, for example, some bigger ones called quenachos that are tuned in D, and actually anyone can tune it. I mean, any maker can tune it in any key, but you will find mostly in G major to fulfill the Andean compositions. It's fully chromatic, and it has a range of around 3 octaves. Some quenas, some well-constructed quenas, and with good players, can reach even to 4 octaves, just by overblowing with techniques with their mouth and cross fingerings and etc. But it has a lot of range, the quena. And the zampoña is generally tuned in E minor, and this is the notes, if you don't know, are the same of G major, which are like only all the notes, but only with the F as sharp. But the difference is that the zampoña generally starts on the E and maybe go back down to a D, but they generally start like around that, on D or E. And its range, it has about around 2 or 3 octaves. There are some smaller and bigger ones. It's just adding tubes, little or bigger tubes next to each one, so they can be of any size. I wanted to show you just like really quick. For example, this is the quena. So you can see it has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes on the front, 1 on the back. It has like, that's the... And as I told you, this goes like, if you know how to play it, I don't know by the way, but if you know how to play it, you can reach like 3 octaves or more. I will try to do something, but I really don't know how to play it. Like that. And the zampoña, which is, I'm not sure if there's any difference from the pan flute that you may know in English, but for me it's zampoña since I speak Spanish. And this one, as I told you, for example, this one starts, the lowest note starts on a D, then goes E, F sharp, and then goes like... and then goes like that.
Hey,
So
Stefan,
yeah,
can I add a little thing just because you mentioned pan flute?
yeah, go.
Okay, so just as an explanation, and I'm sorry, I think this just was a thing that I may have learned about, so let me know if I'm not correct. But what I learned from a person from Peru was that this is like the zampoña, the one you just mentioned,
Yeah.
is zampoña, and this is the pan flute. The pan flute is like the one that's like this, and it has like a. This one has an origin from, I think, Switzerland or
Wait,
from some
I'm
sort
going
of
to
other
remove the
place.
spotlight now because I'm not seeing
Oh yes.
if you are showing any. There I see you. Yeah.
Okay, can you see it? Okay, so this
Yeah.
one right here is the zampoña.
Okay.
And it's exactly the one that you showed.
Yeah.
And the difference in between the two is this is the pan flute, and I'm not sure if I'm correct, but this one has a European origin, I think, from maybe Switzerland. Again, if you
Okay.
could let me know if I'm correct or not. I think that's what I understood from learning from that one person from Peru. But this one is zampoña, and the zampoña was put together that were called sikus. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah, I mean the parts of the zampoñas have different names, and according of how big they are called. Like for example, a Siccus Malta, that are the little ones. Probably yours is a Malta, and the huge ones. There are some ones that go. This is the middle one, but there are some ones that goes. If you are standing, they go to the floor that have a really deep sound. Those are the toyos that they are called.
Toyos, okay.
Yeah.
That's the word I heard them use. Yeah. Toyos. What is yours called? The one in the middle.
This one I think it may be a siku. I'm not sure. I don't want to lie. And this, but yeah, probably.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, that was my question.
No, go interrupt me. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. So I'm going to spotlight again. There I am. So, going then. So ocarinas for Andean music. As you could see, the quenas that are used mostly are tuned in G major. So, G major ocarina works perfectly. I mean, so they really work. And also, if we think about, for example, these zampoñas that go to lowest D, so a C major ocarina works also well because they cover almost all the range, because starting on D and going back to another D, you have a full octave with just using the F sharp. Since it's chromatic, they work really well. And to imitate the range, because they have a lot of range, these instruments by themselves, especially the quena, you can also use multi-timbre ocarinas. And for example, one ocarina I bought, let me see. Oh, I wasn't sharing the screen, sorry. But, well, that wasn't so important. But for example, I bought an ocarina from Imperial City that just because just because I could. It's tuned exactly like a zampoña, that it starts on E, it's tuned to E minor, and goes down to a D, like the zampoña, like. So it goes to a G, and then I ask for the second timbre to also start on G, and ending on an E, because they are the most used notes. And it's like really interesting, because sometimes if you use a double C ocarina and a double alto C, like any double alto C. Oh, I got out of focus, but there it is. A lot of Andean music goes back and forth from the D to an E. So you have to do the timbre switch a lot, probably on Andean music. So I wanted to have another ocarina that could make that more easily. If you know how to play well and make really quick timbre switches, you won't have any problem. So now I'm going back to the presentation. That was what I was trying to show. So ocarinas work really well. Most ocarinas are in C or G, so they work really well for Andean music. And what are the most used scales for almost all Andean compositions. It's E minor natural. You can see there like E, F sharp, like that. It's the E minor natural, and the A minor natural, which is like sorry, like that. So you can these are, as you can see, with one sharp, with the F sharp, or with no sharps. So it's really easy to play ocarina on those scales. So it's really easy to use them on Andean music. Now I want to talk about the ornaments, because they are really distinctive on Andean music. You will find the ornaments all through around a song. It's really, really a lot of use. So, for example, we have first the achiacatura. The achiacatura is basically playing one note quickly above or below, before the note you want to play. For example, if I want to play a D, a D, for example, instead of playing in the song like that D, you play it like one note above and then going quickly to that note, like, or below. So that is used a lot. Another thing that it's really similar to that, it's the mordent, but in this case, on Andean music, you will find almost always the upper mordent. That means going, if you want to play one note, for example, that same D, like, you will play that note going up one note and then going back to that note. Like. So you will find that a lot. Not so much the one below, like that it's not so used. And the last one, which is also like in the same vibe, it's the trill, that it's just like playing the note and one above, like repeatedly. That it's used a lot also. So, for example, I don't know, if you play an Andean song, I don't know, Pájaro Chowí, for example, that Ocabanda made a cover, if you play it like with no ornaments, it can sound really well, but, for example, like, so that it sounds nice, it sounds really well, but when you hear Andean players, especially playing it on quena, because on zampoña you can't make all these ornaments, you can't do them, most of them, but on quena they use it a lot, so it adds another character to the song. It would be something like, I don't know, like. Something like that. So it adds something different, and they use it a lot. Now, in harmonization, it's really important on Andean music. You will see on most bands that they have a lot of wind players. It's not just like strings and just one zampoña, or strings and just one quena. They use normally a lot of zampoñas. Normally they play like two at the same time. Also one or two quenas, maybe sometimes three, and they like to harmonize a lot. The most used harmonization is playing the quena one octave above the zampoña, playing the same melody, and since they are normally tuned one octave above the other one, you just play the same melody. So playing, I don't know, like, the quena makes the same note, but since it's tuned higher, one octave higher, it will sound like nice. And the other thing is that they use playing the quenas using thirds. That is the most used harmonization. So you will hear like the same melody, nothing too complex, but with that added character that they can give it by playing third. You can find, of course, anything I'm telling you is like most of the songs or something general, but you can find, especially for music composed specifically for wind instruments, not for singing, they have like a lot of harmonizations with counter melodies and more complex stuff. But this is, as I told you, a general rule. And how can we put the ocarina on traditional repertoire? So since I told you all of this, that the quenas are tuned in G, the zampoñas in E minor, that the ocarinas use the same range, they are tuned in the same keys, it's just a matter of replacing those instruments. For example, when I told you that you can play the same melody as a zampoña, it works really well if you play one zampoña and then you replace, instead of playing the quena, you just play the ocarina. And I have tried it and it sounds really well. And well, with two ocarinas, you can also do the harmonization of playing with thirds, or even playing doing that third harmonizations with one ocarina and another quena. And I will show you an example. For example, this is a band I had that we played Andean music, and we had, for example, I was playing the ocarina, there was a guy that played the quena and the zampoña, a charango, a guitar, another zampoña, bass. Well, the drummer you can see, but it's back there. And I will show you an example of this. Where I left it? Oh, there. So there was an example, as you could see, they mix really well. I really love playing along with a zampoña player. So next, well, that was it. So I'll stop. Oh, one last thing. I have an example of a song I composed for Andean music. It was actually for I paid homage to that band we had that was called Bohemia Andina. And I made it like in a traditional Andean rhythm, which is the huayno, playing the charango, ocarina, and zampoña. And you can see it here. trencito de viaje va desde los Andes, tierra ancestral, llega a Bohemia del carnaval. So that was it. Another thing that I remember just with this song that also favors the ocarina and playing even single chambered ocarinas is that most of the songs I show it you, they use like a structure of they have a melody that has lyrics that people sing, then the same melody is played with wind instruments, then they sing again the same, and they play, and so on. So generally, the range of the compositions are from 1 octave or a little more. I mean, the vocal range that is used for a simple melody. So it's really interesting. I mean, with a 10-hole ocarina in C and G, you can play a lot of repertoire of Andean music. So it works really well with that. So I think that's it. Thanks everyone for listening. And of course, if you have any questions. Oh, the instruments, Nicholas. But by the way, this is, for example, the charango, that it's one of the string instruments that you use most. And it has like, for example, a third progression of on A minor. It's like. And you can like improvise that with that's on A minor. So with your C major ocarina, you can do anything. Like, I don't know, playing just like improvise. But with a single chamber ocarina, you can do a lot on that. So that's it. I don't know if you have any questions or anything.
Charles said that charango sound was really cool. It makes me want to get mine out because I love charango so much. I don't see questions, but I have a lot.
Yeah, go.
Okay, so first, maybe some of my questions are just about your instruments because I love the music that you are sharing, but I'm so curious about the instruments. So there was one that you were sharing that did this like boing sound. What was that one called?
Oh, well, do you mean the ones that I use on my original song, the other one?
Yes.
The one I played? Oh, yeah. Let me... 1 second. I will get them all. Yeah,
Okay.
I will.
No worries. In the meantime, I'll show this one. This one that's like right by me. I know this one is not like a lot. Like what Stefan has is like really professional and awesome traditionally made instruments, but this one is called chakchas. And chakchas is like the sound of flowing water. I don't know if you guys can hear this. Can you hear it okay?
Wait. Yeah, now I'm here. So, well, one of the percussions that I'm sure you have, Nicholas, is, of course, the chakchas, that are these, like, goat toes, fingernails. It's, like, gross, but it's nice. They sound like that. And you can use it, like, for that rain effect or anything.
I think sometimes they can also come made, like, out of tree nuts and stuff like that.
Yeah, they are. You can find it plastic or anything, but okay. Yeah, these are like the original made. There's a lot of animal cruelty on Andean because they, as I told you, on the Andean mountains and everything, it has that culture, that like ancient culture of people on the fields. So they used to like play a lot and make a lot of instruments from leather, from animals, and all that stuff. One, I'm sure about the instrument you. Oh, I think. Here it is. Did you mean this one?
Yes, that's the one I meant.
Oh yeah, it's like the. I mean, it's really from Europe. Yeah, if you. I think it's from Austria. Yeah. It's like a jarp, yeah. Daniel called it, and you play like that, like.
So cool.
Yeah, you make the different noise like changing the shape of your mouth, playing with the tongue to make some stuff. And yeah, as I told you, this is mainly from Europe, but people here adopted it, specifically in Chile. They got it when there was all the wars of decolonization, when Spanish people went here to colonize. And that was one of the things that they got from there. Yeah, and for example, you can find a lot of this kind of like loud, like horn sounding, like like that. Sorry if it was too loud.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Hopefully it wasn't, but I liked it a lot.
So yeah, there are a lot of different instruments. But as I told you, the main instruments specifically on Andean music are, I would say, the zampoña, the quena for winds, and the guitar and charango for strings. And also, I don't have one, but the percussion that it's played, it's like a huge drum that it's called the bombo legüero. It's like the bass drum, but it's huge, so I don't have it here yet. But those are the main instruments that are played on Andean music.
Well, thank you so much, Stefan. I want to give Stefan a huge hand for being our last panel of the day, of day 3. Man, Stefan, that was such an awesome and informative panel. I think my favorite thing to nerd out about is the instruments.
Yeah.
So thank you for taking the time to share those. There's so many. We just got to talk another time because that was awesome. That was awesome.
Thanks a lot,
I loved
Nicholas.
your original composition today. That was incredible. I really enjoyed listening to your concert, man.
Thanks a lot.
We will be back here on Zoom for 8 p.m. for Milt Ocarina. He will be doing a concert, and I'll be mirror streaming it through Zoom. So use the same link. There's also a link directly if you want to go support him. I'll share that at the concert too. But we'll be back at 8 p.m. So thank you guys for being here. I know it was a long day. I really, really enjoy y'all sticking around and appreciate y'all being here. Thank you to everybody who presented, and thank you to everyone who was here. Let's say our goodbyes, and we'll see you guys at 8 p.m. Bye, Stefan.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.